सबको इस बीमा योजना में पंजीकरण कराने का अधिकार है।
मुखिया जी, मतलब हम कुछ भी उगाएं तो भी बीमा मिलेगा ही?
ना कृष्णा, सरकार ने सभी मुख्य अधिसूचित खाद्य फसलों यानी चावल, गेहूं, बाजरा, दालों, तिलहन, बागवानी फसल और वाणिज्यिक जैसे कपास आदि को बीमा के अंतर्गत रखा है।
यानी कि मौसम के हिसाब से उगाई जाने वाली सभी मुख्य फसलों का बीमा कराया जा सकता है। पर अच्छा ये होगा कि बीमा कराने से पहले हम राज्य सरकार द्वारा जारी की गई अधिसूचना को ठीक से पढ़ लें और पूरी जानकारी ले लें।
अरे वाह मुखिया जी, सब जरूरी फसल तो आ ही गई इस बीमा में। मेरा तो बैंक से कर्जा चल रहा है, तो सीएससी केंद्र जाऊं क्या मैं?
नहीं तरुणा जी, वैसे जानकारी तो आपको वहाँ से भी मिलेगी, पर ऋणी किसान अपने बैंक से तथा गैर ऋणी किसान सीएससी केंद्र, पोस्ट ऑफिस, बीमा एजेंट, एड यानी सहायक ऐप या एनसीआईपी पोर्टल यानी www.pmfby.gov.in के माध्यम से स्वयं पंजीकरण कर सकते हैं।
सबसे अच्छी बात है कि हर राज्य सरकार अधिसूचना निकालकर बीमा के अंतर्गत आने वाली फसलों तथा पंजीकरण और प्रीमियम से संबंधित जानकारी देती रहती है।
मुखिया जी, क्यों ना हम यहाँ एक बोर्ड बना दें और आने वाली सूचनाओं को लिख दिया करें। चौपाल में तो सब आते ही हैं, इससे कोई भी जरूरी सूचना किसी से छूटेगी नहीं।
बिल्कुल सही। तो आशा है कि आप सबने पंजीकरण कैसे कराएं जान लिया होगा। तो वीडियो द्वारा मिली इस जानकारी को आगे अपने साथी किसान भाई बहनों तक जरूर पहुंचाएं और आज ही फसल बीमा योजना में पंजीकरण करवाएं, क्योंकि
प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना, फसल बीमा कराओ, सुरक्षा कवच पाओ।
ये लो प्रवीण भाई, आपके फसल बीमा योजना की रसीद। अब ये बीमा योजना इस रसीद के रूप में हमेशा तुम्हारे साथ रहेगी।
आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। पर सुबोध जी, यदि एक बार इस रसीद में क्या क्या लिखा है आप बता देते तो आपकी बड़ी कृपा होती।
अरे इसमें कृपा की क्या बात, ये तो हमारा काम है। बैठिए, मैं आपको समझाता हूँ। सबसे ऊपर बाईं ओर ये देखिए, आपका रिसीट नंबर या इसे एप्लीकेशन नंबर भी कहते हैं। ये सबसे जरूरी नंबर है, क्योंकि ये एक तरह से आप किसानों को बीमा कंपनी से मिला एक विशेष नंबर है। आपको ऑनलाइन बीमा पोर्टल पर अपने बीमा की स्थिति जाननी हो, क्लेम पाने के लिए आवेदन करना हो, बीमा अथवा फसल नुकसान संबंधी कोई सूचना देनी हो या भविष्य में बीमा से जुड़ी कोई भी जानकारी देनी हो, तो आपको ये रिसीट नंबर देना या बताना होगा।
अच्छा, तब तो मैं इसे अपनी डायरी में भी और फोन में भी लिखकर अलग से रखूंगा।
बिल्कुल। अब नीचे बीमा संबंधी विवरण यानी राज्य, आवेदक, वर्ष, योजना का नाम, कौन सी फसल के लिए बीमा, पैसा कहां से जमा हुआ आदि लिखा है। इसके बाद किसान का विवरण यानी आपका नाम, पिता या रिश्तेदार का नाम, मोबाइल संख्या, किसानी का प्रकार और आप महिला किसान हैं या पुरुष, ये बताया गया है। तथा इसके ठीक सामने आपके द्वारा दिए गए आपके बैंक के बचत खाते की जानकारी, जिससे आपको पता रहे कि पैसे किस खाते में आएंगे। प्रवीण भाई, ये डिब्बे में दी गई जानकारी भी बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। इसमें सबसे पहले आपका जिला, आपका गांव, बीमा इकाई यानी इंश्योरेंस यूनिट, सर्वे संख्या, सम इंश्योर्ड यानी बीमा राशि, बीमित क्षेत्र, सरकार द्वारा दी गई प्रीमियम राशि, किसान यानी आपके द्वारा दी गई प्रीमियम। एक बात हमेशा याद रखिए कि किसानों को केवल अपनी प्रीमियम देनी है। इसके अलावा बीमा पंजीकरण या राज्य सरकार की प्रीमियम के नाम पर कोई किसी भी प्रकार की राशि मांगे तो आपको नहीं देनी है। अब यहाँ ये 3 प्रमुख जानकारियाँ बड़े अक्षरों में दी गई हैं। यहाँ नीचे बीमा कंपनी का नाम, पता आदि दिया गया है।
वाह, सब समझ में आ गया। लेकिन क्या मुझे इसमें बताई गई बीमा राशि पूरी की पूरी मिल जाएगी?
नहीं, बीमा राशि बीमा कंपनी द्वारा किसी अप्रत्याशित घटना के कारण फसल के नुकसान की स्थिति में पॉलिसी धारक को भुगतान की जाने वाली राशि है। राज्य सरकार द्वारा जारी अधिसूचना में जिलावार प्रत्येक फसल के लिए प्रति हेक्टेयर बीमित राशि निर्धारित की जाती है। सिंचित और असिंचित क्षेत्रों के लिए बीमा राशि अलग अलग हो सकती है। संक्षेप में ये खेती की लागत है और बीमा राशि तो आपके हुए फसल नुकसान के मूल्यांकन के आधार पर ही मिलेगी।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सुबोध जी।
धन्यवाद। तो आप भी देर मत कीजिए, आज ही प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा में पंजीकरण कराइए। ये जानकारी अच्छी लगी हो तो सभी साथी किसान भाई बहनों के साथ इस वीडियो को साझा कीजिए, क्योंकि
फसल बीमा कराओ, सुरक्षा कवच पाओ।
आसमान में बादल का नामो निशान नहीं है। जो जल्दी ही वर्षा ना हुई तो खेत सूखे ही रह जाएंगे, जुताई बुवाई कुछ भी ना हो पाएगा। हाँ भाई, क्या कर सकते हैं, सालों से तो मौसम का यही हाल चल रहा है। कभी गर्मी ज्यादा तो कभी ठंड देर से आती है, कभी वर्षा समय से नहीं आती तो कभी गर्मी में ही बारिश से बाढ़ आ जाती है।
क्या हुआ भाई लोग, क्या बात चल रही है?
अरे विवेक भैया, आपको नहीं पता क्या? हम तो सूखा पड़ने की आशंका और नुकसान का सोच के चिंतित हैं।
देखो, इसी से बचने के लिए मैं पिछले कई सालों से आप सबको फसल बीमा कराने के लिए बोल रहा हूँ, लेकिन आप सब मेरी बात ही नहीं मानते। भाई, प्रकृति पर हमारा नियंत्रण तो है नहीं, लेकिन बीमा लेकर हम अपने पैसों और आगे की खेती की समस्या तो कम कर ही सकते हैं।
सच कहा था भैया आपने। अब लगता है हमने भी ले लिया होता तो इतनी चिंता नहीं होती, लेकिन ये बीमा का पैसा मिलता भी है।
हाँ, ये देखो मैसेज, दावा राशि सीधे बैंक खाते में आई है। पिछले साल जबकि कीट पतंगों ने हमारी पूरी फसल खराब कर दी थी, उसके बाद सरकार और मेरी बीमा कंपनी ने मेरे नुकसान का जायजा लिया और रकम मेरे अकाउंट में भेज दी। और हाँ भाइयों, अभी भी देर नहीं हुई है, आज ही प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना में अपना पंजीकरण करा लो आप सब।
पर मेरे ऊपर तो कर्जा है बैंक का और मोहन भाई के पास खेती बड़े कम है, तो क्या हम भी बीमा ले सकते हैं?
हाँ भाई, ये बीमा बड़े छोटे ऋणी गैर ऋणी सबके लिए है और बहुत आसान किस्तों पर। इसमें खरीफ पर 2%, रबी पर 1.5% और बागवानी फसल पर 5% तक देना होता है। और कई राज्य सरकारें तो बीमा का पूरा प्रीमियम स्वयं दे रही हैं।
नमस्ते।
नमस्ते कृषि रक्षक जी। लो, कृषि रक्षक जी भी आ गए। अब इनसे अच्छा इस योजना के बारे में कौन बताएगा?
इसमें पंजीकरण कराना भी बहुत आसान है। अब तो जन सेवा केंद्र या बैंक शाखा या पोस्ट ऑफिस या फसल बीमा पोर्टल से भी फसल बीमा का पंजीकरण हो जाता है। बीमा मध्यस्थ तो घर आकर फसल बीमा पंजीकरण करते हैं।
अब ज्यादा सोचो मत आप सब, चलो और आज ही प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना में पंजीकरण करवाओ। कुछ और जानकारी चाहिए तो वहाँ भी आपको मिल जाएगी।
चलो भैया, हम आज ही प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना में अपना पंजीकरण करवाएंगे और अपनी खेती को सुरक्षा कवच पहनाएंगे। फसल बीमा कराओ, सुरक्षा कवच पाओ।
राम राम मोहन भाई, क्या हाल चाल? सब बढ़िया। और बताओ, कैसे याद किया? क्या बताऊं, ये वर्षा तो थमने का नाम नहीं ले रही है। सारी रोपी हुई फसल बर्बाद हो गई। ये नुकसान क्या सिर्फ आपके खेत में हुआ है? ना भाई, मेरे साथ लगे 2-3 और खेतों में नुकसान हुआ है। आपसे ये पूछना था कि फसल बीमा वालों को इसकी सूचना कब तक और कैसे दूं? प्रवीण भाई, आप चिंता मत करो। किसी भी स्थानीय आपदा या स्थानीय नुकसान के 72 घंटों के भीतर आपको इसकी सूचना सरकार या बीमा कंपनी तक पहुंचानी होती है। अच्छा, मतलब अभी तो समय है। हाँ बिल्कुल। और सुनिए,
जब भारत की खेती को आगे बढ़ाने की जरूरत थी तो हमने बढ़ाया मदद का हाथ। आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी की बदौलत हम एक तरीका विकसित कर पाए कम समय में सटीक उपज आंकलन। पेश है येस्टेक यील्ड एस्टिमेशन सिस्टम यानी उपज अनुमान प्रणाली। ये प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना के अंतर्गत एक पहल है। पिछले 2 वर्षों में टेक्नोलॉजी बेस्ड यील्ड एस्टिमेशन की अनेक पायलट परियोजनाओं के बाद कृषि एवं किसान कल्याण विभाग ने येस्टेक को विकसित किया है। ये है उपज आंकलन का एक नया समाधान जो पारंपरिक तरीकों की सीमाओं में बंधा नहीं है। पारंपरिक तरीकों के रास्ते में अक्सर चुनौतियां आती हैं, जैसे कि अकार्य कुशलता, पूर्वाग्रह, देरियां। अब येस्टेक के साथ जल्दी ही ये चुनौतियां अवसर में बदल जाएंगी, क्योंकि बेहतर होगी सटीकता, कार्यकुशलता और रफ्तार। फसल काटने से जुड़े प्रयोगों की, रिमोट सेंसिंग जैसी प्रक्रियाओं के जरिए किसी इलाके की जमीनी निगरानी की जरूरत नहीं रहती। इससे शोधकर्ताओं को उपज का आकलन और दावा निपटान में उत्पन्न होने वाले पूर्वाग्रहों को दूर करके बेहतर और तेजी से निर्णय लेने में सहायता मिलती है। येस्टेक ज्यादा सटीक परिणाम देने के लिए इनोवेटिव डेटा सेट और एल्गोरिदम का उपयोग करता है, और इससे उत्पन्न होता है ज्यादा विश्वास और साथ ही मिलता है उपज का सही आकलन भी। इससे अत्याधुनिक तकनीक से कृषि क्षेत्र में क्रांति आएगी। उपज के आकलन से जुड़े इस नए और बेहतर तरीके से हमें काफी आशाएं हैं, और हमें विश्वास है कि छोटे और बड़े दोनों स्तरों पर ये एक सकारात्मक प्रभाव डालेगा। इसे देश भर में एक ही लक्ष्य के साथ लागू करने की योजना चल रही है। कम विवाद, ज्यादा परिणाम। अब समय है यस कहने का, यस टेक को। कृषि एवं किसान कल्याण मंत्रालय, भारत सरकार।
क्या बात है भाई, कुछ परेशान दिखाई दे रहे हो?
कृषि रक्षक भैया, मेरी परेशानी ये बारिश का ना होना है। आपको तो पता है कि बारिश का पानी हमारी फसलों के लिए एक वरदान होता है, जो अच्छी पैदावार के लिए बहुत जरूरी है।
चेक कर एक बार।
Good morning. Good morning. Check. Check. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Would request everyone to please settle down. I'm Gaurav. I welcome you to the day 2 of 10th NRC. To begin with, we have Shri Sanjay Mokashi here. He is the Deputy General Manager, GIC RE, having extensive experience in the field of insurance and the reinsurance. Shri Sanjay was managing GIC's overseas operations at London and Moscow. He is spearheading agriculture, motor, machine aviation, vertical, GIC. May we please have Shri Sanjay Mokashi here. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Sanjay ji.
A very good Sunday morning to all. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the opportunity. Having lived for 4 years in Moscow, Russia, it is good to be back to this warm weather. I have taken charge of agriculture department, inter alia agricultural department recently. So the topic given to me is insurer, reinsurer standing and learning in current tender cycle. With 2 months into the department, it will be too audacious for me to tell this august audience as to what are the learnings of the tender cycle. What I can bring to the table is reinsurer's perspective in general and GI series perspective in particular to the current tender cycle. I'll use this presentation only for the purpose of reference and would request you to please listen to my narration rather than focusing on the presentation. Within these 2 months, what I observed was the dominance or the prominence of surplus sharing models has been increasing. If it was limited to 2 states in the year 2022, it has grown to many states in the current year. Likewise, while the statistics on screens is for many years, I would like to focus only on the last 2 years to be relevant and to be consistent with the topic. What we are seeing is while the premium quantum is increasing, the premium rates are decreasing. The number of active players are also increasing over last 2 years. This is the same illustration as to what is the impact of SSM models on reinsurance, the proportion of reinsurance in the market. I'll come back to this point again when I'm actually discussing the current tender cycle. Yesterday, many of the panelists made their comments on the experience, on their experience, their respective experience on the tender cycle. Now, learnings can be no different to the experience. So, pardon me if I am repeating some of the points, reiterating them again, but those are very relevant. Like the timing of tender cycle, as reinsurers, we do feel that the tender process should precede the risk inception date to maintain the uncertainty, to maintain the fortuitous element in the insurance. The market size is increasing, the coverage is increasing, the technology is increasing, the use of technology. The resultant transparency is attracting several players who were earlier on the fence back into this segment, this sector, this class of business. As a result, the competition is growing. We at GICRI would always welcome competition. It is good for the end user, end buyer, the customer, in this case, farmer. At the end of the day, all of us, the stakeholders, for us, ensuring farmers' interest is paramount. But insurance by nature, or for that matter, reinsurance by nature, need to be win-win. One of the panelists rightfully said that if competition is not going to be healthy, if the rates, if the premiums are not going to be sustainable, then in medium term to long term, it is not going to be beneficial for the stakeholders. There could be a severe reaction from the insurance and reinsurance market going forward. We have also observed in the tender cycles that states have requested quotations for multiple options, making them mandatory. Now it is for the states to decide whether this is the best way to go forward, because there could be tendency from the companies submitting tenders to choose the option best to them and quote competitively only for that model and not be serious for the quotes for rest of the models. So this may reduce the bandwidth of the tender process. So the impact of surplus sharing models, what we have seen is increasing the retention, which we saw in the previous slide. The proportion of reinsurance decreases. Again, the proportion I am referring to and not the quantum. The quantum, the market size, we have seen is increasing over last couple of years. But if the rates are not commensurate, the rates are not commensurate with the exposures, then it won't be a win-win situation for the stakeholders. But as reinsurers, all the reinsurers, whether it is GIC, whether foreign reinsurance branches, whether the overseas reinsurers, we have all been supporting both in proportional and non-proportional way across all the models and will continue to do so. I am given 30 minutes, but I feel that if I go on, I'll be reiterating only those points, stating the obvious. So I would like to conclude here unless there are any questions. Thank you.
Morning, Sanjay. Thanks
Morning.
for the short, sweet, and quite holistic presentation.
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning has become interesting, I must say. The question is, you seem to be almost hinting that you do not quite like the surplus sharing model, one. Second, you are saying that it has to be win-win, but it's the insurer and the reinsurer who sets the rates. What do you have to say on that?
When we set the rates, now there are two elements to the rates. One is the technical rate, the other one is the rate that is marketable, that is sellable. So win-win, when I say, I do not only refer to the technical rate. Ultimately, our rates need to sell. And if companies win tender, companies buy reinsurance, then only we will survive. That is what I meant by win-win. Hope that answers.
So I have a question.
Please, sir.
In one of your slides, you rightly showed that the GIC's participation in the scheme has progressively shrunk over the last 3-4 years. It is a matter of concern for us in the government. Could you take us through the process of why it is shrinking, and because it is shrinking, the share of premium going out of the country is also sort of increasing. So from the government's perspective, I would like to know what are the reasons for that shrinkage, which then seeds the premium outside.
Sir, the shrinkage is, I agree, is manifestation of some of the housekeeping that we are doing internally, especially about couple of years ago. In the last year, it was basically the SSM model, because of which the retentions increased and the proportion of reinsurance decreased. When I referred to housekeeping, what I meant was we had a couple of concerns internally. One of the significant happening for GIC was in the year 2020, when GIC was downgraded from A rated by AM Best. We were downgraded to B rating, which significantly impacted our foreign book. And that is the reason why we had to review several lines of business. And in the process, what you are seeing on the screen has happened. But sir, this shrinking is not from the point of view that we want to step back. This is what is being seen. I can assure you that this year or going forward, you will not see the shrinkage.
Yes. I have a question, Sanjay ji.
Please.
I'll take you back to the previous conference. You were not there, yes, but your CMD was there in the previous conference. And the last conference that we had happened in April, just prior to the tender. And this conference is happening after the tender cycle. So your CMD at that time said that the reinsurance market is hardening. Not only in India, but also internationally, it is hardening. So now, since the tenders have happened, and we have seen that a lot of rates have gone down, still few states have gone for 1-year tender. Some states are still left. So do you, can we expect GIC to be more lenient? Because last time he said if the market is hardening, GIC will also be hard with the companies while granting capacity or insurance support. So can we now expect GIC to be lenient to the companies?
Before that, sir, while answering your question, I meant this year, I said this year and next year. Actually, this year also, in the slides, if you see, the 23-24 is already there with shrinkage. So I'll slightly correct what I said, that next year you will not see the shrinkage. Coming to your question, madam, GIC had double whammy. One was hardening of international market, and other was not having the benefit of rating. So internationally, the quality of business for us suffered. So we had to do lot of aligning of our lines, aligning of our shares across COBs. And therefore, for last couple of years, you are seeing that graph, what you are seeing. In my talk here, I mentioned that the paramount aspect is ultimately the farmer should benefit. We are focused on that objective, and that will, I would not like to use the word lenient. I understand what you mean. Our support to the market will be taking that factor into consideration, that we should not be seen not to be supporting market. We are mindful of that.
Thank you.
Sanjay, in fact, there's one generic question, sort of like, see, in PMFBY, until recently, it was an unlimited liability type of coverage. Now we have this surplus sharing also coming in. So many of the companies, I think they have a portfolio wherein they have 110 capping, 130 capping, and the traditional one. Now I'm wondering that all these years, several reinsurance, they are stipulating loss corridors. So what do you think that in this change scenario, is the loss corridor justifiable?
For the states, what they should probably focus on is it might result in upfront reduction of premium, but it might increase their exposures. So loss capping for insurance companies or for reinsurers like us only assures that the book will not be very bad, but the potential of book, the combined ratio going above 100 is still there. And for a company like us, even that is a matter of concern.
Any more questions?
So I have an observation on your comment when you said that the states are calling quotes on almost all the models and then deciding. And then you observe that it might be so that a particular company would bid aggressively in a particular model that suits it. But then don't you think that that will happen across companies also? And so there will be participation and competition in different models. So company A may prefer model A, company B may prefer model B. So wherever the state finds its optimum, discovery of price, and
yes, sir.
They'll choose that model.
Firstly, I humbly admit that I am 2 months old in this department, sir. But having said that, the delay in tender cycle in fact helped me to witness many renewals. And the observation is something like this, that yes, multiple companies compete, but if states select the model first, they have the benefit of all 10 competing for the same.
That I agree, yes.
Any more questions? Questions from anybody?
Sir, I wanted to ask, keeping in view the tender cycle this
Sorry,
time.
I'm not able to. Hello.
This
Ajay.
time, keeping in view the tender cycle and the premium rates being lowered in comparison to the previous tender cycle. So, do the reinsurance companies feel that the lowering of premium is not natural? Keeping in view also past 2-3 years where the loss ratios have been maybe less than 70% or so. do the reinsurance companies still feel that the premiums quoted by the insurance companies are very, very low and unviable?
We do feel so, and probably that feeling got reinforced even in yesterday's discussion, that the rates may be unviable. There are two aspects. Yes, the past performance of the sector may be very good, but the fact remains that when we price a product, we of course take into consideration the trend, but what we actually price is the current exposure. So if there is El Nino, then yes, we will incorporate that into our pricing. Hope that answers.
Sanjay, one last request, not a question. As a lead reinsurer of the market and the sole national reinsurer, would you like to give some guidance to states and to insurers, okay, that is to both clients and insurers, as to what critically needs to be aligned so that pricing is adequate and coverage is also adequate?
Coverage, you mean insurance coverage? Yeah, okay. Because yesterday I observed that coverage in this segment means spread over hectares and...
Let me clarify, we're not talking of scope of cover,
Yeah.
but rather the structures, the 80, 110s, 60, 130s, like that.
I'll bring a bit of Russia into this, if you permit. I was in Russia for 4 years, and the mandate to my company, which was subsidiary of GIC, was not to write agriculture. So unfortunately, I don't know much about Russian agriculture, but I have agriculture insurance. There also it is a government subsidized scheme. But what I observed is the scheme, the scope of it, the magnitude, that is the size, is really mind-boggling here. And hats off to PMFBY for handling such large numbers. I have seen internationally no countries match for us. But for me to give guidance, humbly I may state it may be too premature, being 2 months in the department. But I will, at the cost of reiterating, I will say that sustainability of the rates, that is rates being commensurate with the exposures, is in the interest of all. As I said, insurance or insurance companies do not simply model and give the price. We do a lot of work on that price to make it sellable, to make it acceptable. So maybe in terms of coverage, as you said, few months down the line, I'll be able to come back and have a conversation with you. I hope you allow me to.
Sir, one small question.
Yes, sir.
The tender we get is 3 years, but reinsurance program is generally 1 year. So if that program is also extended for 3 years to those, then the same uncertainty will be there. Otherwise, reinsurers are taking the first year or second year development, and we get hard rates in third year or second year subsequently. So that way, if reinsurance market also is open for 3-year tender, it will be much better.
But in the past, Lokesh, we have given 3 years support, isn't it? His mic is not on.
To give the 3-year capacity to the insurance company.
So, this year, yes, your observation is correct, sir, that the reinsurance support is for 1 year. But we are not averse to, and neither we have given, in the past we have given 3 years support. So, thank you for the opportunity. It's indeed an honor to be here, and to listen to presentations yesterday. I also look forward to rest of the discussions. It's so enriching. The learning curve for me is almost vertical. So thank you.
Thank you, Sri Sanjay Mukhashi. Before we move on to the next presentation, let's have a look at an amazing video. It's a time-lapse video that has been created. As all of us know that PMFBY is a multi-stakeholder scheme, and how various stakeholders come in and they have symbolized, they've used cranes of different colors to make us understand why PMFBY is a multi-stakeholder scheme and how everyone, when it comes together, they form PMFBY. Can you please have the audio visual? And now we would like to felicitate one of the felicitations that we did yesterday, and now we want to felicitate her today. May I call upon on stage Shri Thomas Devesya ji, Member Non-Life RDI, Shri Ritesh Chauhan, CEO PMFBY, and Shrimati Girija Subramanian, CMD AIC. This is the large category state, district, Jharsuguda, state, Odisha. May we please have DM Jharsuguda, Odisha, Ms. Aboli Naraune, IAS. Thank you, everyone. May I request all the dignitaries to please take your seats. Now, moving on to the next presentations. It's the action plan presentation, best practices being adopted to make the scheme more efficient and impactful. May I please have Shri D. Rajesh, DGM AIC of India.
Good morning to all. Best practices being adopted to make the scheme more efficient and impactful is the topic given. We at AIC of India truly recognize PM Fasal Bima Yojana and weather-based crop insurance scheme in its present context as two flagship crop insurance programs of Ministry of Agriculture, wherein farmer as insured and his crop grown as the subject matter of insurance are at the center of the pivot, and the state and the designated insurance company administering the scheme, along with all other channel partners, collectively strive to do justice to their respective roles and responsibilities towards achieving the final objectives of the scheme strictly within the framework of the operational guidelines laid out for successful implementation of the scheme. And based on the experience gathered ever since its launch in 2016, these operational guidelines also have been revised, revamped, and going to be reformed further to make it more objective, more insurance principle embedded, more transparent, more technology driven, and above all, more farmer friendly. This is one aspect of it. And secondly, we also know that the tender document floated by the state government becomes the contractual legal document binding the two important partners implementing the scheme in the respective states. That is the state government and the implementing insurance company. And as such, we feel that this tender document shall be perfectly in agreement with the current scheme guidelines, especially with respect to the technical terms and conditions of the tender. So as such, in our efforts to make the implementation of the scheme more efficient and impactful, from AIC of India, first and foremost, we constructively engage with the state government during the pre-bid period, during the tender cycle, in order to ensure that the state government formulates and floats a tender fully in sync with the scheme operational guidelines, especially on technical parameters like seasonality discipline, major and minor crop classification, adoption of technologies, and above all, adhering to various timelines given in the scheme. In this regard, from insurers' point of view, the most important factor of their concern, without doubt, is the cutoff dates for enrollment of farmers. Accordingly, wherever based on the previous tender experiences, there are deviations noted, we take up with state government for finalizing and fixing these cutoff dates by considering the crop-specific peak sowing period, peak harvesting period, and the crop duration cycle, chances of any calamities based on past experience during those enrollment window, and the current monsoon pattern. A neutral and crop-specific fair cutoff date will go in long way towards determining a competitive pricing during the bidding cycle. So once the tender document is finalized and floated by the state government, we at AIC of India give a competitive price as per the tender terms and conditions. So the major consideration which we factor into this pricing are historical data and the method in which the scheme wants to implement the scheme, the various alternative risk sharing models, or the universal model, or the normal PMFBY as such, and the past claim experience. And currently, since STEC is also factored into this scheme, the impact of mandatory 30% of tech-based claim assessment in the coming tender cycle going forward, and the moral hazard in the hotspots, the so-called hotspots in the states. And of course, as a prudent insurer, we need to spread the risk. So the spread of risk is a major consideration. And above all, the current monsoon prediction. These are all the factors which we consider and weigh upon while pricing. And the price will be strictly in conjunction with the tender document floated and these considerations. Once we are allotted as L1 in a state, in respect of a cluster, as per the tender document, the major consideration now is to maximize the coverage in this cluster and join hands with the state government in their efforts to increase the coverage. In this regard, the first and foremost factor is the digitalization of notification in NCIP, because the enrollment happens through NCIP platform. So any errors in this digital notification in NCIP will have a ramification on the enrollment process as such. So prompt checking and ensuring the correctness of various notification parameters with regard to the notified crops, their notified areas, the risk covered, the sum insured per hectare, the actuarial premium rates, and above all, the cutoff dates notified by the government shall be as such reflecting in this digital notification without any omission or commission. And this ensures that the coverage is properly done in sync with the notification issued. And coming to the IEC activities and publicity activities, which AIC does. In general, we are supposed to do this as per the scheme mandate, but before the implementation part of IEC activities, we used to analyze the past coverage and finalize a focused approach to increase the coverage in those areas which have the potential, but the current coverage as per the previous years have been low. So our activities are focused to increase coverage in those low coverage areas and low coverage crops in the clusters. And the coverage shall be also categorized into loany farmers coverage and non-loany farmers coverage. A traditional belt of district wherein loany farmers coverage is happening, but non-loany farmers coverage is not seen happening in a big way. We focus our IEC activities to push this non-loany coverage aspect, and same is the case where non-loany coverage is happening in a big way, but loany coverage is not happening. There we concentrate coverage through banks to increase the loany coverage. So these are all the IEC publicity activities we do in the field as per scheme mandate through our district coordinators and block level coordinators, such as we use print and social media to highlight the scheme notification in the clusters. Individual, group, and mass contact method we use. We focus the banks and CSCs and give them handhold training. Individual banks and CSC visit as and when it is required based on our analysis of low coverage during the previous years against certain pockets. And we use community radio, and we announce in bus stands, local bus stands, bus panel branding and publicity vans. But based on our experience of all these IEC activities, the most impactful IEC activities which we see has a bearing upon increase in coverage are the following. Use of social and digital media, whenever we are using it, please do it in vernacular language. Identification and participation in local level rural melas has a big significant impact on creating awareness about the scheme. So as and when such melas are organized, we participate it without any miss. Video messages in regional TV channels, Gram Panchayat level farmers awareness camps, and advertisement in community radio stations, and announcement at state transport bus stands have given significant impact with regard to awareness and subsequently the coverage in those areas. So once the enrollment window is over, we have a clarity on the business at hand in NCIP. Now comes the role of the data validation in NCIP with regard to our cluster. The prudent underwriting, considering the timeline for it, as enshrined in the scheme guidelines, is the job thrust on us during that period. And we do that approval, rejection, and reversal of applications within this window available. But one hitch in this regard is, in the portal, we don't have currently the facility to deduplicate and cull out the over-insurance application. So this activity, primarily we do by downloading the business applications from this NCIP and uploading into our software, internal software, in this process flow chart. As per this process flow chart, wherein these suspected duplicates and overinsured applications are culled out and presented to the government for further verification or done with due diligence with the channel partners concerned from where these applications have been received. Of course, the major parameters of this insurance being the notified crop and its notified area. Wherever such mismatches are observed in the applications, we take it with the channel partners for clarification. And finally, against all the rejected application, we are refunding the consideration received in time. Now, parallel to this underwriting process, we focus on the field risk management of the crop which is insured by the farmers. So the crop health monitoring, you do this from sowing to harvest through our internal custom-made app. Sowing status monitoring we initiate soon after the coverage window is over. And in this regard, we have the state-of-art RSGIS unit in our AIC, which do, using remote sensing technology, the crop condition of all the major crops in their major districts. And this remote sensing based crop health information is even validated through ground truthing points and its further validation. And traditionally, we do insured crop verification, insured record verification, and weather station inspection also parallelly as part of our field risk management. So along with these activities, from sowing to harvest and even subsequent to harvest, as and when an adverse weather sets in, impacting the crop insured against, and if there is a need for field surveys for settling the indemnities other than end season claims, we do it as per the notification issued by respective state government where, for invoking prevented and failed sowing or mid-season adversity survey, which are done on random sample method. And when it comes to individual loss assessment surveys, depending upon the size of the volume of loss applications, loss intimations received, we do it either in-house or engage a vendor empaneled for the same, and same is the case of post-harvest loss surveys. And last but not least, the most prominent activity is conduct and co-witness of CCEs in conjunction with the state government officials. And what we focus here is whether the activity as such is adhering to the CCE procedure laid down for the same, whether the CCEs are captured on a real-time basis in CCE mobile app, whether the field and plots selected for CCEs are as per the rules of the game. So these are the factors which we take into consideration while co-witnessing the CCEs. If there are some blatant violations noted, of course, we raise objections or flag objections in the CCE app, or if the CCE app is not used, subsequent to our co-witnessing of these CCEs. And as per this, we will be in a position to gauge clearly against a crop which are all the notified areas wherein we have a clear yield data forthcoming from the state government which is undisputed, and which are all the crop NFA combination having our objections in place. So we segregate the risk into these two categories, and it is our endeavor to settle those crop NFA combinations claims where there is no dispute raised or objections raised by the company, and those areas and crop combinations where disputes are there also, we constructively engage with the district administration and the state administration to resolve those disputes within the framework of the scheme guidelines in time. And finally, when we take up this claim settlement aspect through DigiClaim module developed by ministry, we do this, and as a prerequisite for doing this DigiClaim settlement, right now we are taking the route of our in-house software. We take our internal approvals first through our internal software. Against the parameters, AY, TY are all properly checked, and this has been done in two phases. One is against those crop NFA combinations where there is no dispute and the claim is clear. We give priority to such things and do it within the timelines enshrined under the OGs. And subsequently, as and when the disputes are resolved, those disputed cases, as per the resolution also, are taken into our software for claim processing and approval, and subsequently taken through DigiClaim. And DigiClaim initiative, of course, we at AIC of India are also in a learning curve, and our request to MOA will be to issue an SOP based on the experience gathered from March till date, so that internally we can position ourselves in a better way to finalize an SOP for claims and its settlement. So these are our best practices which we feel are justifiable from the scheme OG point of view.
Thank you, Shri D. Rajesh. There is an important announcement. Though the buffet lunch would be ready by 12:30, but in case any one of you leaving a little early and would require lunch packets, please meet Ms. Vandana Chawla at the help desk. And also, all the presenters who are coming to the podium, please be careful with these steps. Be mindful of your steps. The second presenter is Shri Amulya Dash, National Manager, Reliance General. Can you please have you on stage, sir?
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible? नहीं, स्क्रीन पे नहीं आ रहा है। नो, स्क्रीन पे नहीं आ रहा है। नहीं, फर्स्ट स्क्रीन सेल्फ नहीं आ रहा है। Okay. So I need to learn the best practices actually. So after the presentation from AIC, I will be attempting to keep it very short. The purpose of sharing with the audience the best practices is that since the inception of the scheme, we attempted to learn few things from the market itself. from our experience in various states, and we gradually understood that the practices that we adopt need to be changed quickly and effectively depending on the requirements of the state and our other stakeholders. So primarily the functions that we are currently handling can be divided into 4 types, and I will attempt to summarize everything within these 4 parameters. Of course, these are primarily focused on 2 kinds of things. One is the structures and the processes that we adopt, and within that the entire implementation and our interaction with the stakeholders. That is how we look at it. First is the distribution and deployment. Currently we are in 6 states, handling about 45 districts and having 9,000 plus insurance units, catering to 43 lakh farmers and more than 1.16 lakh applications. All these are distributed in different areas, but if you look at it, the way we handle it, it's pan-India, and we start with the basic functions that the people who are deployed in these states need to be trained first, and we generally go to the agriculture universities, try and recruit people who are agricultural graduates, train them before the season starts in July. So typically we'll go there for recruitment in maybe May or some period, and then recruit them, train them adequately for about a month or so, and then deploy them in the field. And we try to see that the people who are recruited are going to be placed anywhere in India. That's how we look at it. And after that, the entire implementation starts when the states will demand at a very short notice for all kinds of trainings and workshops and other things. Of course, these days, many of the IEC requirement and training workshops are very structured and formalized. So the central government gives that well in advance. So for us, these things are already put into place, but then the major requirements where we want to deploy people are fixed well in advance. Like we don't get into the last minute huddle saying that we'll have to place somebody there or some other place. Similarly, the deployment is also taken into account our clusters and our regional offices. Of course, the government business group within Reliance General Insurance has its own method of identifying offices based on the needs, not necessarily in the state capitals, but based on the needs, so that we are quickly able to respond to the state governments or the district administration's requirement of deployment of people. Of course, after that, we have a centralized monitoring mechanism where there are more than 40 people working exclusively for the government business, including some small amount of health insurance business. Now, the second part is the enrollment management. I am not going to get into the details. Basically, what we do is we start with the business charter and then do the resource mapping, the database management. The entire data that flows into this kind of things. Yesterday, I think Gajendra sir was asking about how do you get into the vernacular nomenclatures and other things. We have that language bots which actually automatically translate the vernaculars, data and all these things, and then we do that analysis, just like AIC said that they have a software mechanism. We have that algorithm already built into the system which does that. Then we have a dedicated centralized processing unit which actually handles all kinds of data. We understood after 2 to 3 years that the data simply goes in numbers. I mean, it becomes too heavy. So we have our dedicated servers, and for the crop insurance database itself, we have dedicated servers, and we have centralized processing units which does all kinds of this thing. Then as a control measure, we have all those things for compliance perspective and other things. And then the measures that we do for example, excess insurance checking and other things, we have that ground truthing which supports us. So these are the way we have put in our structures. So there are people dedicated into this, and depending on where we are operating, the central functions never change, but we will be able to quickly adapt to our requirements in case of a very specific requirement in a particular state. For example, if it is Jammu Kashmir, we don't have previous experience. We will learn from our experience as we go, but the central team will take care of all our internal database management related setups. The third part is our implementation. This is a very key part. Starting with our IEC, the technology, then the CCE part, we are getting into this mode where the IEC activities in coordination with the central team, central government and the state governments are very well coordinated. In fact, we have a very dedicated creatives team which churns out the creatives, the materials for social media and for the publications that we have, brochures and other things. I'm not getting into too much into the remote sensing and other things because these are our internal things which are not really customer facing. But the CCE applications, the technology part actually helps the state governments and the district administration to understand. In fact, we publish our reports periodically, 3-phase reports we are publishing. So these are actually helpful for our stakeholders, especially for our reinsurers and the district administration, where we give them a advance warning about the developing crop conditions. The compliance part is critical for us because now it's regulatory pressures and our own internal mechanisms force us to have our compliance in order. And as far as the claims data are concerned, earlier we used to have our own setup where 3-stage evaluation and other things used to take place. Now, since it is getting integrated to NCIP shortly, we have our APIs ready where we can quickly integrate into this thing. As the standard process, these are not the best practices as I would say, but these are the necessary practices that are being followed, that mandatory AOI and TY checking and claim processing. Of course, the reconciliation part is now new because there are 2-step failure things which are happening. One is the Aadhaar based and the other one is the normal gateway based things which are getting reconciled. We are gradually developing our understanding about this, and as we go, we will be able to better implement the reconciliation process, especially for the DBT failure cases. The last part is the communications part of it. Now, Reliance has been operating a dedicated crop insurance call center since 2017, except for Haryana, where we had a state government run call center. All our crop insurance calls are landing in this call center, which is a multilingual call center. For the email management, we get a lot of queries from CSCs and other places on also complaints and claims intimations. Now, email management, we have a dedicated email IDs for states and for grievances. These email IDs are now automated through a bot system where the emails are segregated into queries. Even if it is in a different language, it gets segregated into queries and complaints, and then we are able to quickly get into that. For all our communications with the state governments, our stakeholders and other things, we have a dedicated communication cell within this government business group handling crop insurance, and we have a DMS, the database document management system. This document management system was deemed necessary because we finally found out that whatever we had done in 2014-15, some court cases or some organizations will come and ask for the documentation, and since our territories keep on changing and the people keep on changing, it's very difficult to get hold of all those old data into a system. Now, we have this DMS in which all our communications, all our queries regarding all implementations since 2015 onwards are captured. So tomorrow, if there are any requirements about retrieval and other things, somebody else in the organization will be able to find out quickly and will be able to These are critical in case of our litigation cases also, because we will not be able to know what notification was there and what documentation was there. So these are the basic practices primarily focused to help our stakeholders, also to age out our internal processes and find out whether there are any really issues which we are missing out. So periodically we do our own internal review, and we have developed our own crop libraries and training sessions to educate our people who are in the field. So in short, I would like to say that since the number of farmers are growing in large numbers and there are pressures from all stakeholders to effectively and efficiently discharge the requirements, we are depending more on technology and less on manual interventions to structure our responses, and that is how our best practices will be centered around. I think with this, I will close. If there are any queries, I'll be able to take it, otherwise it's fine.
Thank you, Shri Amulyaji. Now, may we please have on stage Shri Hiten Kothari, appointed actually HDFC Ergo.
Good morning, everyone. So, HDFC Ergo has been a player in crop insurance for the last 15 years now, and we have seen how the agribusiness has grown in the industry over the years. More importantly, as we look from the number of farmers insured, today no longer we can talk about manual ways of working. So as my slides will largely focus upon the technology initiatives that the company has done, and how are we using technology to ensure that we serve the farmers as if we are serving as a normal retail customer, maybe in motor and health. That's the level of commitment that we're trying to build at within the company. And some of the initiatives that the company has taken over the last 5 years or 7 years, and gradually improving the tech stack to reach the stage that we are today. So, can I next slide, please? Okay, thank you, sorry. So the 5 areas that we have focused a lot over the last 5 years are one on the remote sensing lab, the crop survey applications, the marketing strategies that the company is taking so that the awareness and the enrollment increase year on year. Grievance redressal is another area the company is focusing upon, and last is the PU app, again, which is slightly aligned to the grievance redressal as well, or maybe a better way to reach out to the farmers. So, we have been using remote sensing technologies even before the scheme was, or the latest PMFBY scheme was there. Largely, we used to outsource, we used to use vendors to help us with satellite imageries and what is the forecast going to be. Over the last 4 or 5 years, the company has now remote sensing technology in-house. We have created a lab with scientists working for us who are specializing in looking at the weather forecast, looking at the environment, how things are happening. When I say forecast, doesn't mean we try to predict for the next 6 months. The idea is to look at the weather conditions, look at the NDVI, the other results, and use technology to what benefit and maybe outlay our team efforts. Just to give an example, for example, if we know that there's a localized event expected in Maharashtra or any other state, we would have the people ready to, if you have to undertake a survey in the next 48 hours, how quickly we can reach out to the field, how quickly we can get our manpower deployed in the nearest location, such that the effort and the maneuverability can be done. This helps us in better managing the claims. Also, the issues and the challenges that the insurance company will face subsequently in terms of not able to do the survey on time and maybe make the claim settlement quickly, that can be resolved. Again, this is also helping us, and there are a lot of WhatsApps that we run, SMS bursts that we run, basis the information of farmers and the claims for data that we have. In a particular region, if for example, Odisha was expecting a cyclone, we went out and notified, did an SMS blast, requested also the data from the government to undertake this SMS blast where they could actually preventive measures, either by keeping their crop in a safe place if it's possible. Now, some sort of advisory can be done. And so some of these technologies really help us. How do we reach out to the customer in a better way? Also, we can advise the district administration what are the steps they can do, such that at the end of the day, insurance will obviously come and make a claim payment. But if we can be preventive, that will help us and help the government as well. On the marketing activity, I think awareness is a very important role. The government of India also has been playing that, or have been spending that money and want insurance companies to spend that money in creating awareness and increase the enrollments. We have seen that localization or regionalization of that event. Say example, if you undertake in regional skits, dramas, cultural events in their culture, helps us connect with the farmers a lot more. And then we run some of these marketing activities wherein the awareness can be built in. We have also launched a Kishan Pathshala, which was a very comic book. That is something that we have done the previous 2 years, again to create awareness among the farmers, how we can look at it. Similarly, we are doing a lot of digital and technology solutions for creating awareness. The idea is to use technology, WhatsApp. More and more farmers are ready to use WhatsApp. They are communicating in that in that medium, and we are using content in that one to help us. On the claims management, most important is there are still some issues around NEFT collections. So our app has the ability to gather the NEFT details as well into the app. From a yield estimation, we have bots enabled, something that is becoming very common. The idea is on a claims intimation, as I said today, we have good enough IVR technology available when the farmer reaches out on the call center. He can use IVR-based notification in the regional language to notify his claim. Now, this is much more convenient way of working with the farmers, and we can address a larger number of farmers at the same time. The complaints come in large numbers. Now, it's a very the graph on the left is slightly complicated. What it's trying to show is the different type of complaints that come through different channels, and more importantly, different type of complaints that come. So the combinations is quite huge. As a company, when we have about 80 lakhs farmers who are working or whom we reach out, the mechanism is quite high. There are also other channel partners who have that sort of complaints. So we have a CRM tool that helps us manage this entire thing. The idea is to ensure that, as I said, the response time is similar to what a retail customer is. And happy to announce that for 100% of our grievances that came last year, the turnaround time was 5 days, of which 90% was resolved in 48 hours. So that's a level of commitment that we have for our farmers, and that's what we want to achieve at our level. There's also an escalation metrics available inside the tool where if grievances are not resolved, it gets automatically escalated, not to me, even to the CEO as well. This is something that we have done 2 years ago when we launched a PU app. Again, this is a WhatsApp-based application that we have created. The farmers are very conversant with WhatsApp. All they have to do, look at the number and or scan and it becomes a very interactive ways of working. The farmers can use to get details about their policy, the details about the schemes. If they want to launch their claims, they can do that. Last year, especially during the localized events that were happening, more than 35% of the claims were notified through PIHU. Now, what it helps is the farmers can easily make the intimation. He wants to do a claim status that can be done as well. It helps us reduce our load and serve larger number of customers through technology. Overall, the experience of PIHU is much better when it compares to call center or any other email or any other thing, because a lot of times the farmer believes that things are under his control. All he needs to do is use his mobile, and then he has all control over the things. That's it I had to say. Thank you very much. Any questions? Happy to recover. Thank you.
Thank you, Shri Hiten Kothari. Now, I would request Shri Ashish Agrawal, Head Agriculture, Bajaj Alliance, to please be on.
Good morning. Our PMFBY scheme is now 7 years old. And in this last 7 years, the scheme has evolved with a very fast pace. And I'm sure for all of us, each season has come up with its new learning, its new challenges, and it has with new experience. And we all stakeholders have tried our level best to kind of match up with that pace and provide best of the services to the end customer, which is farmer. So the challenges, I'm sure whatever has been spoken earlier with my colleagues from Reliance and SDFC is almost the same. But from Bajaj Allianz, if you would see perspective, we have kind of identified 3 major challenges. If anyone kind of, as an insurance company, if they can kind of overcome those three things, the scheme would run very efficiently. So first thing is basically how to reach out to the customer who is kind of present in a very interior location, and to tell them that this is an insurance scheme. This is not a benefit scheme that if you have paid the premium, then you'll get the claim. That is not the case. So the first objective, what we normally keep in mind is that educate them properly and tell them that as and when any event happens, as and when any crop loss happens, they will be definitely getting claims through this scheme. So that is one challenge, what we try to kind of address as a company. Second challenge is that this is a very voluminous business. There's no any other line of business where more than 20-25 lakh policy gets issued in just 1.5 months' time. Managing this huge volume is a task for all the insurance companies, and in the last 7 years, we have kind of evolved our systems in such a manner that we can book all those cases in time. And managing policy is one thing. Second is that as and when any natural event happens, as and when any rainfall event happens or any kind of pest attack happens in the field, everything gets panicked. Means you keep on getting a lot of calls from the field, from the government officials, and they request us to address the claim as early as possible. So what happens, we keep on getting a lot of calls. In a call center, handling 5,000 calls, 6,000 calls in a day is a Herculean task. And there's no any system available that you can address all these things manually. So for that, we have our own systems now. I'll talk about all those, our innovation in subsequent slides. And third thing is that address the grievances effectively and timely claim payment. These 3 things is, I think, our main focus, area of focus. We normally concentrate on that to make the scheme more efficient and friendly for our end customer farmers. So as I said, to reach out to the farmers, we have our own systems. We have our marketing team, we have a dedicated team who keeps on working on it. We have developed our own educational series through which we communicate all the nitty-gritty of the scheme. We have developed the content in the regional languages, and as and when any event happens, whenever we go for any marketing activity, awareness campaign, farmers meeting, we use those videos, we use those our ad or campaign or this thing to educate them. The idea is basically to train them, to give them the information about the scheme properly. We don't want to give anything which is not correct and later it creates an issue. So that is first thing. And the second challenge normally what we face is that how to handle the voluminous business. Like as I said, that like I think yesterday also it was shown by Chauhan sir that the number of applications has increased from 5 crore to 11 crore. It's all because of integration and use of technology. Similarly, at the insurance company level also, earlier we were booking around 1 lakh policy, 2 lakh policy in a season. But now, last year, I think we booked around 80 lakh policies because we got 80 lakh applications. And that too, the challenge is to do all the reconciliation, to do all the mapping properly, to do the receipting, and ensure that policy gets issued before it expires. So that at least whenever any claims are there, or whenever you get any intimation, claim intimation, that we should be able to pay the claim in time. So for that, we have developed our robotic process. So what happens, this robotic, basically, it keeps on downloading the documents as well as the information from the NCIP portal directly. And we have a dedicated team of around 50 operations manager. Then they issue the policy. They do all kind of QC, and they ensure that the policies are getting issued properly and it's in time. And also we ensure that our main stakeholders like our channel partner like CSC and banks, they get the service charges in time. For that also we have a system ready that every month we release their service charges. So if you'll see, we have already paid the service charge for the last Rabi season because all the policies have been booked and there's no complaint at all from our side. And third is the loss assessment. Because what happens when we started this PMFBY, first year, in the first season, we got a lot of claims intimation through offline mode. And it was managing those offline modes intimations was not at all possible. And then we realized that if we'll keep on handling these things offline in offline mode, we'll not be able to do the survey in time, we'll not be able to do the survey claims in time. So what we started thinking is how to handle that. And for that, we developed our own app, in-house app. It's an Android app actually. We call it as a Farm Mitra. And we are given all kind of provision in that. So it's a kind of two-way communication through which a farmer can give the intimation, claim intimation. They can track the status of their claim intimation. They can also see if the surveyor has been appointed or no. And also it helps, we are given the option. A farmer can do self-survey also. If the loss is not that much, we are given the option. A farmer can upload the videograph of his field. And we also have given this Farm Mitra access of this Farm Mitra app to our surveyors. So whenever they visit in the field, whenever they're conducting any survey, they upload all the documents, they upload all the photographs through this Farm Mitra app. It helps us in kind of assessing the claim in time and paying the claims in time. So I'm happy to inform that there are more than 7 lakh active farmers who are there in all across the country who are using this app, and this has given us very good kind of leverage in terms of managing the scheme in time. So if you see this, Farm Mitra app was developed, I think, in the year 2019, and we have got awards also regarding this app, and it is being used in all the locations wherever we are operating in the PMFBY. The next is handling the call volume. For call volume, as SDFC also said, that we have a dedicated call center to manage all kind of calls, and our agents are, basically they can talk in the regional language also. So they are working 24/7 because we have realized that farmers normally start calling early in the morning. We keep on getting calls at 5 a.m. in the morning that some kind of damage has happened in the field. So normally up to 10 or 11 o'clock in the night it's available, and since from morning 5 or 6 o'clock it starts. So it's working effectively, but here also, just to make sure that there should not be any kind of, the farmer should not get left out. So what we do, if any farmers has not been able to reach out to us, we also arrange for callback to them. So any farmer, if wants to reach out to us, if they are not able to log in, and so we call back them. And now we are coming up with a new system called Kisan Suvidha. This Kisan Suvidha is WhatsApp bot actually. So WhatsApp bot, just like our SDFC Pihu, this thing, our Kisan Suvidha will also be available in the WhatsApp system. And a farmer can see his, he can lodge a claim, he can see the status of his claim, his policy status, and also we are going to have a Farm Mitra Wise bot also. So both these things will be help us in kind of providing timely services to the customer. The idea is to reduce the grievances and pay the claims in time. So with this, with this all have helped us a kind of running this scheme effectively. Thank you very much. This is all I have.
Thank you all the presenters for their amazing presentations on the Indian markets. We have come to know about how things function here. Now, moving on to the global experience, the international experience, we have 3 presenters. And the topic is Global Experience on Innovation and Designing of Agriculture Insurance Products for Sandbox Approach. One of the presenters is here, that's Shri Balachandran, MK, IBIC Network, the Netherlands. Can we please have you on stage, sir? And there are 2 presenters who have joined us virtually online. One is Shri Singoi Enoch, UNDP IRRF, Kenya. And the second is Shri Pranab Prasad, the technical expert, ILO, Geneva. Both of them would be visible here on the screen. And after Shri Balachandran's presentation, they will present. Please, sir.
Very good morning, everyone. First of all, let me thank the ministry for taking this bold step to go beyond crop insurance, because we all know that the insurance penetration in India is quite low, and we can't achieve that level without going to the rural markets. So that is one important aspect I wanted to highlight. And also, I'm very pleased to be back in the PMFBY family, because I moved out of the PMFBY or the crop insurance segment way back in 2017 and started doing the rural and micro insurance market development. So it's good to meet all of you, good to meet my friends, colleagues who are in this segment. Coming back to the presentation on the global experience sharing, I represent IBISA Network, which is a European insurtech startup. We focus only on parametric index-based product developments. So that's a bit unique about IBISA because we are not focusing on conventional insurance products. So having said that, I will move ahead with my presentation. It will be a short one, divided into maybe 3 different segments. First segment will be a short brief about what IBISA is, what we do. Second, some experiences from other markets as well as what we have done in India. And third is how IBISA or organizations like IBISA can help or can add value to the sandbox ecosystem, and maybe we all can work together and do something which is going to be a path-breaking in the insurance industry. Coming to IBISA, as I said, we are a pure parametric-based or index-based insurtech startup. Headquarters in Luxembourg, in the European continent, but working in multiple locations across the globe. Just to give a brief of the locations where we operate, India is one of our prime markets. Plus, we have business in Philippines, few pockets in Africa, Kenya, Senegal, Ghana, Guatemala, in New Zealand, and we work with the local insurance players as well as the global reinsurance players. So this is the roadmap or the locations that we handle. Coming to what we do as an entity, we are capable of 3 different aspects. One is the data set handling, or I would say the global data sets, because index-based insurance or parametric insurance, we all know that cannot be developed with a set of data, historical data as well as the real-time weather data that is required for claim settlement. We mostly depend upon satellite-based data. In India, we use both IMD data as well as the globally accepted European satellites as well as other satellite data. So that is one major aspect that we handle or that we do, but we are capable enough of doing. Second one, the middle one is a bit important because that is the product development or the IBISA software or the tool that we have developed, because as I said, since we focus only on parametric insurance, we have the capacity to develop thousands of term sheets in a day or maybe in less than 2 days. The system can do multiple locations, multiple perils in the same time. So that is the capability or that is the tech aspect that we can actually bring into the table. The third one, I don't think needs to be highlighted because we already have that here. So it's all about a distribution platform. We help our clients to have a transparent distribution network as well as claims, automated claims monitoring system. So those are the things that we do. I will move ahead. I guess this is more important, the kind of few case studies, the kind of few products that we do outside. I would like to highlight the case from Philippines first. Philippines market is very competent, or I would say it's cooperatives are one of the backbone of their agricultural ecosystem. So there are thousands of cooperatives, small, big, medium, where members come together, form a cooperative. So the product that we have launched in Philippines is more of a typhoon cover for the farmer cooperatives. So unlike in India, these markets are not that matured in terms of understanding of index-based or parametric insurance solutions. So we had to start from the scratch. We have to understand the market first, develop products, help the insurers to design term sheets, get the reinsurance support needed. So that was more of a bottom-up approach that we did. But IBISA's strength was product designing, again, developing parametric insurance solutions there. A bit about the product, I guess this is where I can spend a bit more time. The loan that the cooperatives give to the farmers, that is the one that is getting covered here. So the product is the protection of loans. So as a farmer, if I'm taking a loan from the cooperative, my loan is getting protected against an unforeseen catastrophic event. So this is not linked to, it is linked to the fact that if there is a catastrophic event and there is loss in his land and he will not be able to repay his loan, and that's how the product gets activated. And it is covering excess rainfall and excess wind speed. So it's a typhoon cover. It's more of cyclone itself, but in Philippines it's predominantly known as typhoons, and typhoons are quite common there. So the product covers excess rainfall, 24 hours excess rainfall, as well as wind speed. These are the two coverages. Policy holders are these cooperatives. It's not the individual farmers. That is a bit difference here because it's of a meso-level cover. Coverage is annual. It is across the loan tenure, and around 107 cooperatives are covered so far. I was in Philippines last week. I came straight away from there. We are doing the renewals for these policies, and right now around 300 odd cooperatives are taking this policy in the month of September for the next year. So there is an incremental involvement in terms of farmers getting to this policy, because we started with 17 cooperatives in the first year, 107 in the second year, and now it will cross 300. Around 6.3 million peso worth claims have already been settled, and the average claim settlement at is 10 days because it's parametric. They don't have to submit any claim documents. It's all automated. Whenever the trigger is breached, the payment has to be done to the account holder of the beneficiary. So that is getting settled in 10 days' time. The reinsurer there is Hanover Re. So this is one case that I wanted to present because this is more unique or more relevant to what we are doing here. Although the coverage is not individual, it is more of a institution-specific cover. Coming to the second case study that I would like to present here is of a forecast insurance that we did in Guatemala with World Food Program. This is a bit unique one because we settle the claim before the event occurs. So it's based upon the modeling or based upon the weather stimulator. So if if an event is predicted to happen in the next 10 days, then a percentage of the overall sum insured is settled before the event getting occurred. So that's a unique concept. Again, the regulatory support has to be there to launch such products. But the pilot that we did, we were able to settle a set of claim for particular deficit rainfall cover. It was a drought product that we did in Guatemala. And 15 days before that event was supposed to occur, or maybe the drought was supposed to be declared, we were able to settle 30% of the sum insured to the farmer so that it comes as a relief. So these are all few, I would say, out of the box kind of a scenario that needs a lot of activities or a lot of support from all stakeholders involved here so that we can come together and design something innovative. Coming to few product or few innovations that we did in India, I guess this will be more relevant for the team who are sitting here because we want to do something here. I strongly believe that if you want to do something new or for the farmers, one, the product has to be affordable. Two, the product has to be something that they want. So they should empathize with the product. We can actually design multiple products. We can actually launch a lot of set of products. But if somebody has to buy the product, then it has to relate with their need. So that is something that we have tried to address here. And happy to share that ASE was the first company which helped us in launching the innovative heat index products in the Indian market. In last summer, we did that for the dairy sector. The product premium was just 100 rupees per animal, and it covered a unique loss that the farmers actually face in the market. Because in summer, the reduction in milk yield is a unique, or it's a known factor, and all the farmers relate to that event. So that is more important. If I talk to a dairy farmer, he understands that, okay, in the month of May, June, or in the month of April, May, June, my productivity of my animal goes down at least by 1 liter or 2 liter per day. So it's 100 rupees of actual financial loss to him, but he don't have a risk mitigation tool available in the market right now to protect his loss. So that is where this heat index product actually came in, and it was able to address that need of the market. We did it a pilot, as we thought that it will be a small pilot, but that pilot itself covered 15,000 animals in Kerala through Kerala Milk Marketing Federation. ASC was the insurer there. And following the success, Stellabs, Godrej Agrovet, these were few entities who are in this segment who have taken this product, and there were claims also. So that is something that I want to highlight here. In Milma, all the farmers from 2 districts out of the 6 got claims. In Stellabs, out of the 7 districts, 2 districts again, all the farmers who got enrolled got the claims. So the product reacted to the heat wave that happened in the last summer, and we feel that this is something that can be taken forward in the coming seasons as well. Next, one example, again, these are few examples outside the agricultural sector, because that is one agriculture plus allied or agriculture allied sector is something that we'll have to look at. Warehouse insurance of Arya Collateral, again, it's an NBFC having multiple warehouses across the country where the farmers use this warehouse. So this was, again, an index-based product done for the utilization or the loss of income that they might get due to unforeseen weather events, and the utilization capacity of the warehouses is not done for the 100% usage. So again, is an income loss cover related to agriculture and related to the loss that happens due to unforeseen weather events. The project with Nurture Farms, again, it's an agri-tech startup, is the bundled proposition, because we also talked yesterday regarding how we can bundle propositions along with other input players. So again, this is an example for that, where a sachet product worth just 20 rupees per unit was actually attached to all the transaction the farmers does through this app. So it's a bundled approach. The third one is with farmer producing organizations or communities, where farmers actually come together, or these organizations help farmers to reach out to them for multiple farmer-related services. So again, that was index-based product covering unseasonal weather events, which is related to agricultural activities that the farmers do. So to state, yeah, these are the initial starting or initial pilots that we did in the last 3 months. Ibiza started operational in India in the last 6 months, actively started operating in the last 6 months. So I guess there is progressive improvement that we were able to do with the ecosystem, which needs certain need-based products. And as I said, it is affordable, and need-based products is what that can help all of us move to the next level in terms of whatever we intend to do. Just a couple of last 2 slides on how we can add value to this ecosystem, to the sandbox system. I would say I would like to focus only on one aspect, because that is something that we discussed in length yesterday regarding standardization of the products. So if we intend to do an index-based product, or if we intend to do certain parametric insurance solutions through this platform, organizations like us can help in standardizing these products, and insurance companies can actually price those standard products. So that is something that InsurTechs can help in building that ecosystem. So what if there is standardization, and what if there is no standardization? I guess we discussed that yesterday, because index-based products are quite complex. We can play with triggers, and we can reduce the premium rate. We can go up to as low as 1% premium rate also, but those events might not be occurring. So we need to have a balance between the actual product that reacts to certain agricultural or certain natural calamities, plus the affordability aspect. So that is something that we can achieve through standardization of the products. By standardization, I mean the triggers can be finalized for certain location, for certain crops, and the participating insurance companies can price those products, because as I said, InsurTechs has the capacity to do those product designing, and we understand the market, we understand the actuarial science behind that, and that is something that we can help with, and that will actually ease out the operational aspect as well in bringing parity, because for the farmer, all the products will look the same, only the premium rate will be different depending upon the insurance company's risk-taking capacity. So the benefits is all about making things standardized, making things faster, making things transparent, because it's very easy to complicate things. So that is something I wanted to highlight, and that is the kind of engagement that InsurTechs can bring into the ecosystem, helping standardizing the products. And one more aspect I would like to leave is that crop agnostic approach is something that can help us, because I understand that different crops have different climatic conditions, different requirements. But for example, a harvest cover. During harvest period, unseasonal rainfall affects all crops more or less equally. So we can have such crop agnostic products which actually cater to a common need. And that is where simple, affordable, low premium, or I would say low tenure products can be built in, and that is something that can be brought through the sandbox network, and farmers actually need such products. So I guess that is where I will stop my presentation. I just wanted to highlight few activities that we do and few capacities that InsurTechs as an ecosystem, IBISA, companies like IBISA can bring into the table. Open for any questions, doubts, any clarifications?
So, thank you for your presentation. I just wanted to know what has been your experience in terms of the claim ratio, and what have been the, did you have actual payouts in all those 4 products that you mentioned? Can you go back to that slide?
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming back to the first product, sir, the heat index product that we did, as I said earlier. In Milma, the first pilot that we did, the overall claim ratio is 220%. Stellabs, the second product, the second entity that it took, the claim ratio is 36%. So overall claim ratio looks okay, but yeah, there were claims. That's what I said. The product is actually reacting, or it is actually giving the claim at the time of need, because last year the heat wave was quite intensive, and the product was designed only for April, May, June. And the locations where the heat wave was more, the farmers actually got benefited. And Milma clearly told that, okay, we did only 15,000 this year, next year definitely we'll do more than 1 lakh enrollment in that product. And ASE was quick in settling the claims as well. Stellabs was done by HDFC Ergo, so there were multiple insurance companies who have done this product. Other products are more or less running. It is currently still in the running mode. The claims are yet to be calculated for that. But heat index is one where we were able to actually do a lot of enrollments, and that has actually benefited. And this concept can be expanded or beyond dairy as well. So dairies was one such example. So right now we are working to develop this concept for poultry as well, because that is one segment which doesn't have a product, and that is one segment which gets affected with heat a lot, because the productivity, or the meat productivity as well as the egg productivity of poultry is affected by heat index. So this product can be fine-tuned to other segments as well. Human heat index is also something that we are working on. So,
a question here.
Yeah.
Interesting to see that you're basically protecting against income loss. But how is income getting calculated? Is it a realistic thing, or is it something ad hoc?
It's realistic, sir. As I said, for example, I will take the example of the dairy sector. An average reduction in milk yield is approximately 2 liters or 1.5 liters per animal. So 1.5 liters is quantumized, if I say, then it is going to be 75 rupees to 80 rupees per day loss. So when I'm covering a 2-month coverage period, then I'm converting 60 days into 80 rupees as the sum insured. So it is actually calculated based upon the actual financial loss that person is having on ground. The same is the way we are calculating it for poultry, the kind of reduction in meat production. Meat production actually, Normally it takes 3 weeks to reach a 2 kg productivity, but during summer it takes at least 4 weeks to reach that 2 kg productivity. So for that 1 week extra feed that the farmer has to give, the 1 weeks of extra effort that the farmer has to give becomes the sum insured of the product.
What was, in which area you have done this?
The heat index product?
Yeah.
Milma was in Kerala. Stellabs was in 6 states, including UP, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu. Godrej Agrovet was in Maharashtra. So I guess there were around 7-8 states that we were able to cover.
So do you have used a weather station already, installed weather station?
No, actually we have used satellite-based data, not the AWS weather data.
Satellite-based data. I have just one doubt, because satellite-based data, when we are saying, so how it is being, how it is coming, whether anything published you have given to the farmer is knowing how it is being calculated, because it is all in the background.
Yeah, so
what source you are using?
In all these products, we have used the IMD weather data. So IMD weather data is available in the public domain. The only thing is like nobody can actually download it and see it comes in the binary format. We'll have to convert and give to the farmers. But we have used the data, whatever is available in the public domain only.
Whether you have signed any agreement with the IMD,
IMD
is using such data, because their purpose maybe it is quite different. Their projection may be quite different. When you are using it for claim, I think it is not suitable, sir.
No, it's...
You need to check.
I can check on that, but all of us uses those data
because,
which are...
sometimes anybody, because it is in pilot phase, very starting stage, if some grievance is coming, they will go even to the court. You are taking data, the party has used, published data for some other purpose, not for paying claim. So you are using satellite-based data for settling claim, that is somehow, I think it's a problem.
No, actually, okay, we can discuss on that, but I would say temperature, rainfall, these are all parameters that are actually measured and published for the public use. And it is available in the public domain. We are not actually using it from somewhere else. And these are the data sets and they also have the historical data. So the same data set is used for pricing and the same data set is used for settlement as well. So I don't think there is any...
Sir, as you know, there is a restructured weather-based insurance product. Similar things are there. Their reference weather stations are also mentioned, and even backup weather stations are also mentioned. Because all these cases go into the legal, when you expand things, legality will be there.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Please take care.
Yeah, sure.
Bala, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
So since you know that we are coming up with a large network of AWS and ARGs, which is under wind system. So is it possible to design the products based on maybe the historical data for which the source is different, maybe the IMD correct data, but the settlement happens on the winds data? Since we do not have winds data, historical data available under wind system, so I think we have to depend upon another source for historical data, but settlement has to happen on the real-time data based on wind system. Is it possible?
Okay. I guess that question needs to be answered by the insurance companies and the reinsurers, but yes, we can design a product design can be done on historical data, but whether that same product, the settlement can be done on the different, actually in insurance, you are also aware that we will not be able to, in conventional way, we cannot use one data set for pricing and one data set for settlement, but since we all are together here, I guess all the fraternity people are here, reinsurers, insurers, this is a call that the insurance companies and the reinsurance companies has to take, but product design can be done. That is something that I can tell. But
okay. Any reinsurance company or insurance company want to comment on this? Anyone in the hall? So that means it is acceptable, no one is reacting to it. Yeah. माइक दे दीजिए।
Ajay, the whole point is about basis risk, and that emanates if we use historical data for pricing and do the claim settlement on some other source data. So if we do the analysis on case-to-case basis and find that there is no other alternates available, we'll have to do the analysis and then
Obviously,
decide.
there is no alternative. Otherwise, for wind system, we'll have to wait for another 10 years to generate at least 10 years data. And that also is not sufficient.
Yeah, so model data are available, but we can discuss that, how to go about it. Still the issue remains.
Hi, Bala and I are in the same business. I also run another company called Ground Cover that does parametric. I think winds has to be the anchor for this because otherwise, we've seen this. Anuj has left from weather risk. The business has always been patchy, and you don't get renewals. You only get renewals when claims comes. It has not really grown. My only submission would be that for parametric business to work, and since so much effort has gone into winds, please integrate, and Mr. Chauhan is here and Ministry of Agriculture, non-AWS data, especially for precipitation also, then finally your grid level problem will be sorted. What I'm trying to say is, since IMD is a part of the winds committee, it really would be a good idea if IMD could integrate its radar and lightning data. Then you'll get basically centimeter-wise precipitation. Thank you.
Right, I guess I will hand over the floor to Enoch. Thank you, thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, the first presenter from Ibiza, and nice to connect on this platform. I hope you can hear me well. Okay, good. So let me share my screen. Confirm that you can see my screen, especially participants at the workshop.
We can see you and we can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Okay. Thank you so much. So I'm Enoch Singwe. I'm representing UNDP to bring in the global experience on innovation and designing agri-insurance products for the sandboxes. And actually, as you can see from the first presentation, there are quite a number of open questions around, data, the design, the acceptance of specific data sets in terms of to be used for the claim calculation. And basically that justified to us that there is room for innovation for this product solution. And this innovation can be done in a controlled environment, which basically those controlled environment is through the sandboxes. And the sandbox approaches or sandbox innovations provide us that good opportunity to test and ideas and to get a proof of concept of ideas and to commercialize it. I'm going to bring in the experience of the Bima Lab here in Kenya because in Kenya we have an active sandbox within the Insurance Regulatory Authority and the Innovation Hub that is under the FSD Africa, Financial Sector Deepening Africa, where they've done a combination, you could call it combination of two sandboxes, one from a regulatory perspective and the other one from a lab perspective, where the regulator would provide a platform to test these ideas and the lab would provide a platform to onboard, to recruit and also to provide the necessary resources or the mentorship. And their objective has been around 4 key areas, which is to connect the vast ecosystem of InsurTech who are running this innovation into one platform and connect them to implement the ideas through the regulatory sandbox. The second component has been looking into acceleration of this innovation for the purposes of advancing inclusive insurance, and this include the entire microinsurance products, including agriculture and climate insurance, and also providing a test environment to experiment, to test all these new ideas, and even to give a little room in terms of lessons, which sometimes we might call them failures, but then lessons that give room for the product improvement. And of course, the main objective has been targeting the scale from an investment perspective and scale in terms of farmer reach. The sandbox, basically, if you look historically, is most of the innovation is always insurance companies going to the regulator to present the product. But then through the sandbox model, it basically provides a two-way approach. And this is actually the two-way approach is basically the regulator is having a platform where new ideas can come in without full regulation. And these new ideas then get to be implemented. And the main role from a regulator perspective has been around coordination, that platform, and the capacity building. And then, of course, the lab now is to bring in the dialogue, to bring in the resources. In fact, with the BIMA lab here in Kenya, and it's actually a sub-Saharan African initiative, they even support this InsurTech with the right, connecting them with the right technical assistance, connecting them with the right government entities that can support them in completeness of the data. They connect some of this InsurTech to external resources, donor resources, as part of resources to support in the innovation process. So such combination has been huge success for the microinsurance, especially in Kenya, because they pioneered this in Kenya. And I've been part actually of the team that we've taken one of the insurance or InsurTech platform through the BIMA Lab initiative and through the regulators sandbox. And the objective here was to have an end digital tools that can act as an underwriting, a complete end-to-end underwriting platform. And with the results, the objective by ECA Africa has been to give in a business case to the regulator to use this system for the purposes of changing potentially their mandate as a third-party service provider in the agri and climate insurance space into a microinsurance sort of a company. And that process is still on. And looking at it is that they raise a platform, they build a platform called Resilience Engine, which basically has three core modules, which is at the design level, looking into the data and the product design. At the distribution level, looking into distribution channels and farmer onboarding, and of course, at the underwriting level, looking into taking the risk, the claim calculation, the premium payment. And the design level, within this system, they've built different sets of data sources, or they've aggregated different sets of data sources into one-stop shop library that has multiple data sources from different satellites. And even they've managed in some experiments through this platform to combine two data sources that are coming from two different satellites, or to compare the performance of two different data sources. And out of this, they build the product modules, and the product modules is built based on purely index, and of course linked to agronomy of specific crops, converting those into insurance model and pushing it into an ecosystem, which is basically the marketplace where the various distribution channels can access the product, deliver the product. Once the product are sold to the customers, this solution comes into the next phase when the season starts, where the system would do an autonomous claim calculation. And all players in the system, including the government, including the distribution channel, the insurers, have access into the platform, and they can track real time the performance of the product on this digital ecosystem. The phase they are in now is phase 2 of the use of this platform. It goes into 3 phases before they can get into official feedback whether this should be really fully transitioned into a complete system to be used for the to convert the intermediary into a microinsurance entity. And the benefit that the system players are getting out of this in the BIMA Lab initiative is the mentorship, a global mentorship from insurtech or fintech expert around business model development. So it goes just beyond the regulation part, the control experiment part, to the level of getting the right mentorship on how to structure these solutions. And one of the products that has been designed and developed and implemented through this insurtech tool is a soil moisture index solution. The soil moisture based on, of course, satellite, and mainly in Kenya it's for maize and wheat and potato product, where in excess of 25%, then if the moisture level is in excess of 25%, it also triggers a payout. And if it is in deficit of 15%, it also means basically a deficit of a moisture level in the soil. And this is one of the product solutions that they've innovated through this insurtech system, the resilience engine system that they have at hand. And of course, it follows the agronomic model in terms of looking at the different stages of the crop and the requirements from a moisture perspective for each of those crop stages. They've also provided a value addition through the system, where they have a picture-based in form of a app, where farmers would then take the actual pictures of the crops, or in some instances, agents. Some instances, farmers are taking the pictures of the actual fields. Once they have these pictures, then it's uploaded into the system. Through AI, there is a bit of analytics. And the main purpose for this is use this picture for monitoring purposes, as well as for the purposes of future product improvement. Because one of the main challenges has been different soil types in different locations have got different ability in terms of water retention rate. Some have good retention rate, some have less retention rate, and these are issues that has a really huge impact in how you're designing your thresholds for the index solution. There are other opportunities that we need to look beyond insurance for the crops in the field. And I wanted to present this new idea, and I'm aware also this new idea is in trial or is in early development in India. Price guarantee insurance is a new sort of a new product to consider. And basically, if you look, when farmers harvest, the prices always drop. But then if we are in a position to offer through partnership in an ecosystem, other risk management solution that looks into storage facilities, then farmers trigger at the harvest, supplying this to these specific storage facilities, getting partial pay, and getting some guarantees based, of course, on the historical data in terms of the performance of the prices or over time, and then providing risk guarantees insurance that really look into storage window, so that there is a minimum price guarantee solution that protect the farmers against price, just in case the price dip during the storage period. Just to give a practical example, farmer will produce, deliver it to the warehouse. The warehouse would issue the contract and payment to the farmer. 3 to 6 months or so, farmers can then through the warehouse can then sell the product. If the product falls beyond certain guaranteed level, then there is a trigger to pay. But then if the product is giving more price, which was at the price at the minimum set or above the minimum set, then in that case, it's a big value. It's a big value to the farmer. These are new innovations or new approaches that we can look into beyond the crops in the field that can then be implemented within sandbox models. Of course, it's important to highlight that by markets, by countries as well, the sandbox objectives could be different. It could be structured based on really the objective that the team or the country teams are interested in trying to achieve. And of course, based on the level of market maturity. India, for example, is, when you're sharing from a global perspective in other countries, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, your current program is one of the most, successful innovation around agri. But then still there are other objectives that, or pain points within the implementation of agri-insurance, that then those pain points can create new product solution to even scale beyond the current scale and to be taken through these kind of sandboxes here. And there are, of course, many opportunities. I think Ibiza highlighted a number of those around the index sandboxes, that product solution that could be hybrid models, that combine weather index and multi-peril crops, vegetation yield projection index solutions, or area yield index solution. We've seen also cashback or bundle solution with agri-value chain product and services, where the risk is not only to the farmer, but then also to the businesses of value chain players. And if we are to do bundle solution or cashback solution where farmers are investing on specific fertilizer or specific inputs, which are always a premium, comes with a premium price. And if the price falls short, then farmers get cash back or part of the money they invested in. So by design, at the back of it is actually basically insurance. But then within the agri-value chain ecosystem, it's to provide that level of resilience for farmers even to invest on the right inputs, because there's some form of guarantees for them to get cash back in case of a failure of a season. And of course, many other digital-based solutions at the design and then as well at the distribution level. So yeah, thank you so much. Open to the questions here.
Do we have any questions? Okay. In case we have, we're going to take them later. May I request Sri Pranab Prasad, technical expert, ILO Geneva, to please proceed with your presentation, sir.
Thank you so much, and a big thank to the Government of India for this invitation to share stuff about a topic that has been foremost in the mind of a number of international development partners, and certainly for us at the ILO. I represent the Impact Insurance and Social Finance Department at the International Labour Organization, where we look at a lot of these aspects, basically from a job creation, productivity kind of a perspective, but also to ensure what we call decent work and social justice. The topic of combining rural development and using various tools as facilitators is a topic that I think all of us have been working on. I don't have a presentation, primarily because of the fact that I got so inspired listening to many of the things that were spoken yesterday and today that I thought it would be just better to use the sandbox approach and extend it into innovations that have been tried in the market, draw on some lessons that are there, some challenges that we have faced, and share not just global experiences, but some of my own personal experiences in trying to push forward the envelope and try to look at insurance from a slightly different perspective. So I'd just request colleagues for the next 10 minutes to keep a slightly, like I say, out of the box approach, not just limited by the sandbox walls, but look at insurance from a slightly broader perspective, wherein we kind of consider traditionally insurance to be a protective mechanism. Our entire insurance work is looked at protecting farmers against risk, protecting farmers against vagaries of the nature, etc. But in my mind, in our mind, I believe insurance has a far larger role to play in being a productive tool in actually ensuring and driving growth in the markets, not just rural, but also having upward linkages with mechanisms that are already available in the system to work. Two things I think we just need to keep in mind. Insurance does not work alone. It needs to be in a package of services, part of services that can actually impact the entire livelihood, and also look at the triggers that insurance can provide for other services, both financial and non-financial, to actually play a role in rural development, in farmers' lifestyle development. So just looking at a slightly integrated risk management approach, wherein we talk not just of livelihood risks, such as what is happening on the farm, but also what is happening at the household level at the farmer. Because it's the same kitty that the farmer comes back with, and she or he have to manage illness in the family, have to manage life and death of the chief wage earners in the families, have to manage school fees for children, ensure that children go to school even in terms of drought and crisis. All these issues are important. And hence, I think it is important to look at this entire package of services that insurance can provide to keep the farmers going and help them improve and move into a better economic life cycle. I think we in India were blessed with the regulator in the sense that the regulatory requirement of rural and social obligation pushed us as insurers to look at this segment creatively from day one. कभी भी एक भी दिन ऐसा नहीं गया जबकि आप 100 रुपए कमाएं तो उसका 5% आपको रूरल से लाना है. ये all insurers kept that in mind. And excuse my bit of Hindi usage, but I guess it's just to drive home a point on these issues. So, like I was saying, the social and rural criteria forced us as insurers to look at this. And it is there where our efforts to bring more innovations have now started bearing fruit. It took us about, let's say, about 15 to 20 years almost to see how it goes. So without spending too much time on how it helped, since the time the microinsurance norms were laid out in the country in 2005, this issue about having a comprehensive cover has always been there. Fortunately or unfortunately, it has never materialized because initially the regulation just had a 50,000 cover, which all the insurers said is too less. Then, of course, there have been modifications. And though the regulator has pushed us to look at composite covers, believe me, it has been no simple task. And while we discuss it today, and I think all the technology growth that Gajendra Singh ji ne kal bataya tha, and we look forward to working very closely in understanding how the current systems can bring it. We, at least from our side, were unable to bring an insurance company on the life side and an insurance company on the non-life side to develop what the regulator gave us permission to do, to develop composite products in the rural space. Biggest challenge was the system incompatibility between organizations. Even though large business houses had both a life and a non-life insurance company, but beyond the research stage, the systems just couldn't talk to each other. So I guess that's a challenge that we need to look at and move forward on that. The first such innovation came about in actually Sri Lanka, where Sanasa Insurance, while developing a weather index-based insurance product with the ILO's support, included a life insurance cover and a very, very small hospital cash cover in their package. They could manage it manually because it was actually being done on a slightly smaller scale. But as the transition from rice to tea and scale grew up, it was actually then system support started coming in. So it can be done, it's possible. And like I said, we have learnings from our neighbors that it is possible. The other interesting aspect about this livelihood approach, Anuj brought about yesterday when he mentioned the issue of, through no fault of mine, I just can't earn a livelihood. And this livelihood protection has been tried as far away as the Caribbean and now also being in the Pacific. A kind of generic cover was mentioned by Bala sometime back, and I guess it extends the same logic to call about protecting livelihoods in case of inclement weather. So I am a farmer, I have a hurricane, my field gets destroyed, I get a cover. But I may be dependent on a farmer to run my businesses, an indirect loss, and I cannot run my ginnery, I cannot run my plants for it. How do I get compensated for that? So therefore, it's a generic livelihood kind of a cover where if there is an excess of high-speed winds or of excess rainfall, the entire livelihood covers. You can also be in the rural areas, a taxi operator, tour operator, and in the Caribbean, these people have a lot of earnings on this kind. So whether you are a farmer, whether you are a beekeeper, whether you are a tourism operator, you kind of get covered by this generic livelihood protection cover. The other thing that has been talked about and has been very, very enthusiastically responded to by this industry is that preparation is always better than restoration. So we've seen the evolution in Kenya of the Kenya Livestock Insurance Program, which actually started out as an NDVI cover to prevent or to kind of help pastoralists in case of droughts when they lose their livestock. And gradually seeing that though it does alleviate economic stress, it was also not really working out because you've lost your cattle, you've lost your camels, you have to wait for 3 months to buy them back, though you've got the insurance claim as quickly as possible. I think there was a good recognition of something that was mentioned some time back, of forecasting, of actually preparing for these losses or preparing for drought, where in advance you can now buy fodder for your cattle, in advance you can buy fodder for your livestock and preserve your asset rather than having to restore them. So I guess this is another aspect of insurance that we need to kind of keep in mind. This anticipatory action approach has also been used not just in Guatemala, but in other locations where children are provided, and combined with government programs such as feeding of children in schools and running canteens. So canteens get compensation in advance to be able to keep this basic food supply chains going. We have also discussed some amount of bundling and some amount of work that is happening there. Whether we call it bundling, whether we call it a value chain approach, I think the idea is to combine insurance amongst the basket of services involving many stakeholders and following this multi-stakeholder approach. It gels very well with what we at the UN talk about as SDG 17, which is all about partnerships. And I guess it is important that when we look ahead, we look at partnerships not just with technology service providers, but also with others in the ecosystem, whether they are input suppliers. And I guess we have interesting examples dating way back to 2007, 2008, when seed players used to give insurance free as a part of new seeds that were being given out in the market. Kenya's tried this product, and a product that I think Enoch has been involved in when Kilimo Salama was launched was the entire aspect of you buying seeds, opening it, sending an SMS which defines your field, you get insurance free with it, and if in 21 days there is no rainfall on your field, automatically you get compensated by an additional bag of seeds. So input suppliers can be an effective mechanism, but the only challenge is that it is an investment required from the input suppliers, which either they give it as an incentive to the farmers or they charge a small premium from the farmers. And that's where the role of fintechs in designing slightly lower value products becomes important. The other kind of, what should I say, bundling is on the output side. And we have in Zambia, where one of the earliest examples with NWK, which is a agro services company for cotton product, is apparent, wherein they provided a weather index cover to all farmers who were providing cotton to them. And it was not just weather index, but it was also combined with a life insurance cover to ensure that there is a building of loyalty that happens with the farmers. It led to not just greater purchasing by NWK, but also less side selling by the farmers who were associated with NWK. This entire contract farming approach is actually quite interesting, and there have been experiments in India itself with Pepsi, which for their Frito-Lay chips and potato farmers provided an entire package of services in tying up with banks for a slightly lower interest rate for loans. Insurance covers also being subsidized by Pepsi, and ensuring that the farmers remained with them and were able to produce potatoes that could be used in a more effective manner. I'll come and discuss a bit more about these output and input buyers in a bit of detail in context of the government. But just continuing on this theme of innovations, I guess it is important in all these cases, whether you're bundling, whatever you're doing, to look at both, as Apurv mentioned yesterday, the demand side, that does it, what benefits can it provide the farmers? And equally importantly, on the supply side, as to how can it become a sustainable business opportunity for the insurance companies, for the intermediaries, as well as for all the people who are involved in actually covering the so-called last mile to the farmers. And in this last mile thing, this entire issue of, like I mentioned, partnerships becomes extremely important. The other innovation I think that insurance can look at and has worked very, very proactively in several markets is having a consortium approach. I don't know how relevant it can be for India, but at least in new markets where people have gone out and started doing businesses with individual insurance companies not being very sure of the market, we have seen a very healthy tendency of insurers coming together and creating consortia to actually do business together. And this move towards co-optation versus competition has yielded good results. The Kenya Livestock Insurance Program, as well as the Kenya Crop Insurance Program, has shown 7 insurers working together to provide services depending upon where they were comfortable and where they were geographically had a comparative advantage. Similarly, in Rwanda, there is the National Agricultural Insurance Scheme supported by the government, where 4 now players do business together. Every $100 that comes in is divided equally between all the players, and players do the expense of actually doing product development, but all business is done that way. The loans are also, or should I say, the claims are also settled accordingly, and that's how it's been done. Uganda offers another unique example of this consortium building, where 11 insurance companies, actually 17 insurance companies come together, and they work under what is called the Agriculture Insurance Consortium, who negotiates with product development organizations, who, I wouldn't say negotiate with the government, but coordinates and liaises with the government, and is able to then provide products in the market that are useful because they've been tested out by this agri insurance consortium and found relevant. Of course, it's not a perfect system in that sense, but at least the consortium is able to bring together not just the insurers, but also the aggregators who are actually the last point of contact in the entire value chain. I think another point that we need to quickly remember is this role of aggregators and intermediaries. And Ashish's question yesterday about incentivizing these aggregators has thrown up some interesting insights in terms of who does what and who actually owns the customer. Just a quick response to the earlier query that we had on the heat index product, and Bala can correct me if I'm wrong, the actual purchase is by the aggregator, by the dairy, and the farmers, and the premium also is paid by the dairy. So in that sense, it is the aggregator who has purchased the product, and we need to look at it in that form. Just before I close, I think one important aspect that we need to look at is the distribution aspect. Yes, the product can be designed. Yes, we can look at working on how both research from the ground level as well as from the other side. But how does it actually hit the market? How does it actually read the customer? And here, I guess there are interesting examples, and I'll quickly share them. Before that, I need to ask a question. Who is the largest distributor of products and services in any country? And I guess the answer that we quickly got back was the government is easily by far larger than any distributor in the market. So it's not the Coca-Colas or the Pepsis or the Procter & Gamble's, and the trust that the government has is extremely important. So there have been interesting examples in using government schemes for distribution of insurance products and linking insurance with stuff that the government is already doing. For example, in Zambia, the government since 2002 has been providing subsidies on inputs. The FISP program linked up with insurance, I think in mid-2010s. And since then, all the subsidies that actually are put towards for farm inputs, insurance is linked into them, which reaches out to 800,000 farmers in a pretty effective manner. Yes, there is no subsidy on insurance, but as an entire package when it reaches the farmer, one, it reaches the farmers, and second, it allows the farmer to kind of take advantage of subsidies on fertilizers to bring his overall cost down while purchasing insurance. Similar story in Ethiopia, where we've seen fertilizers being sold only through the government, and that's the only mechanism of distribution. And then insurance is linked into them. Of course, the pilot that was run had full-fledged insurance subsidy being provided by an international development partner and led to about 100,000 farmers being covered. But the point being that there are government programs already in existence that I think we need to explore and develop linkages with in an effective manner. One quick example of actually insurance being amongst production of services is the R4 example being run in several countries in Africa and now too in Bangladesh, where insurance is among the services. So insurance looks at risk transfer, but there's astute risk taking, there is credit available, and there is a mechanism that can actually help farmers to get advisory services. Within this mechanism, I think it is important to note that it was linked in to the PSNP programs or the safety net programs of the government, where a person could actually pay for the insurance by putting in labor. So the government wanted to build bridges, or the government wanted to build work to do climate guard against climate risk, build dikes. So people worked on the dikes, and instead of payments, they were able to buy insurance and insure their products and services. So this is a unique example that has actually worked in, like I said, several countries, started with the Horn of Africa in Ethiopia, and then got extended to several markets. The last issue that I think we need to keep in mind is the linkages of agriculture insurance with disaster risks. Overall, I was fortunate to have been part of discussions in the G20 DRR working groups, where the emphasis on agriculture insurance, as well as the smallholder farmers, found resonance in variety of forums. And in fact, the final communique also talks of insurance being used in a proactive manner for all disaster risk activities. In fact, the much talked about climate risk insurance globally also focuses on agriculture insurance and benefits for smallholder farmers in a big way. So I think that's an opportunity to kind of being explored and see how it can be done. Very quickly before rounding off, this entire business of an integrated risk management of insurance being combined with credit and savings is important to be considered. And we have examples in India with Dwara in the rural segments where they work quite closely. Philippines, Bala mentioned, so we have an MFI there, KMBI, which has helped develop products to provide these combined services to the market and becoming a one-stop shop. Of course, I don't want to repeat issues of keeping it simple, because the big issue about keeping it simple is that we need to ensure that we are able to create value for, like I said, for all stakeholders in it. So at the cost of simplicity, we should not sacrifice value is just my, what should I say, my submission to all of us here. Just one more interesting example from Zambia has been looking at agriculture insurance from a distributor's point of view, where solar partners or solar panel partners want to give out their solar panels in the rural segment to farmers, but are afraid that they don't get the money back. So they have started offering agricultural insurance with their solar panels so that in case there's a drop in production, the farmers are at least able to pay back their loans and keep the equipment instead of the equipment being taken back by the insurance company. So therefore, like I said, there are innovations in product, there are innovations in distribution, there are innovations in how the business is conducted that I've tried to list out in some manner and look forward to discussing more to make them more relevant to the Indian scenario. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Are there any questions? No. So, we'd like to thank Shri Sengoy Enoch and Shri Pranab Prasadji. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Thanks, Dan. Thank you for joining us. All right, so moving on to the prime highlight of the day of the 10th NRC. We're going to interact with the farmers. Of course, we're going to have some chairs here. When we come from a highly urbanized environment, you know, we tend to see the farmers, or we tend to learn about the agriculture through the celluloid, but the reality is far, far away from what we see in cinema. And हमारे अन्नदाता यहाँ पर हैं, हमें बेहद खुशी है कि वो यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं. They are the ultimate beneficiary of PMFBY, और मैं उन सभी को आमंत्रित करता हूँ कि वो यहाँ मंच पर आएँ. तब तक हमारी ये चेयर्स भी लग जाएंगी और हम उनका जो रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस है उसे समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. एंड टू मॉडरेट दिस सेशन, कैन वी प्लीज हैव श्रीमती लतिका, चीफ एग्रीकल्चर ऑफिसर, देहरादून, श्रीमती अभिलाषा, चीफ एग्रीकल्चर ऑफिसर, टेहरी, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ उत्तराखंड, आशीष टोपो, रीजनल मैनेजर, AIC ऑफ इंडिया, मैं देख रहा हूं कतारबद्ध हमारे अन्नदाता जो हैं मंच की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं. कठिन से कठिन परिस्थितियों में ये काम करते हैं एंड दे इंश्योर द फूड सिक्योरिटी फॉर द नेशन. कभी कभी बहुत ही परेशान करने वाली वो जो प्राकृतिक आपदाएं आती हैं उनका इन्हें सामना करना पड़ता है. हम भी प्राइस राइज को फेस करते हैं कभी कभी उसी वजह से. एंड सिंस वी हैव Okay, I would also like to invite Shri K.C. Pathak, Director of Agriculture. Will you invite? Okay. Yeah, you do that. I'll give you the who's calling me now. Just give me 10 seconds. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, हमारे सामने हमारे अन्नदाता हैं. Can we please give them a standing ovation? Over to you.
Thank you so much. A very warm welcome of all the dignitaries from Government of India, different state government, insurance companies, and other respectable persons from all over India. On behalf of Government of Uttarakhand, I, Latika Singh, Chief Agriculture Officer, Dehradun, I am moderator for this farmer session, along with Srimati Abhilasha Bhatt, Chief Agriculture Officer, TD, and Shri Ashish Topo, Regional Manager, AIC of India. May I request both of you to join me on stage? जैसा कि हम जानते हैं, ये 2 दिवसीय 10th नेशनल रिव्यू कॉन्फ्रेंस जो कि प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना एवं मौसम आधारित फसल बीमा के विषय को लेकर चर्चा परिचर्चा हेतु चल रही है। आप सभी गणमान्य अतिथियों का देवभूमि उत्तराखंड में हार्दिक अभिनंदन एवं स्वागत है। ये 10th नेशनल रिव्यू कॉन्फ्रेंस के मध्य में जिनको रखकर चर्चा एवं परिचर्चा की जा रही है वो है हमारे अन्नदाता, हमारे कृषक भाई एवं बहनें। उत्तराखंड प्रदेश के समस्त कृषकों के प्रतिनिधि के रूप में जनपद टिहरी गढ़वाल और जनपद देहरादून के विभिन्न ग्रामों से आए हुए हमारे कृषक बहनों एवं भाइयों को मैं स्टेज पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ। आप सभी से अनुरोध है, तालियों की गड़गड़ाहट के साथ हाँ उत्साहवर्धन करते हुए हमारे कृषकों का स्वागत करेंगे। सर्वप्रथम श्रीमती प्रभा देवी, ये है टिहरी गढ़वाल से। श्रीमती पुष्पा देवी, ये है टिहरी गढ़वाल से। इसके बाद श्रीमती शशिकला चौहान जी, ये आती हैं चक्राता, जनपद देहरादून के त्यूनी तहसील से। श्रीमती सीना देवी, श्रीमती टिप्पो देवी, टिहरी गढ़वाल से। साथ ही हमारे बीच रहेंगे श्री ब्रजेश कुमार जोशी, जनपद देहरादून से। श्री सुरेश चौहान जी, श्री महावल सिंह नेगी, श्री संजीव चौहान जी, आप सभी जनपद देहरादून से। साथ ही हमारे बीच टिहरी गढ़वाल के विभिन्न गांवों से आए हुए कृषक उपस्थित हैं। श्री देवेंद्र सिंह चौहान, श्री कुंदन सिंह पंवार, श्री रामचंद्र सिंह रावत, श्री कुंदन सिंह, श्री सोवन सिंह रावत, टिहरी गढ़वाल से। साथ ही मेरा अनुरोध रहेगा आदरणीय श्री केसी पाठक सर, जो कि निदेशक हैं कृषि विभाग में, आपसे अनुरोध रहेगा कृपया स्टेज पर अपना स्थान ग्रहण करेंगे। श्री रतन कुमार जी, जो कि संयुक्त निदेशक हैं उद्यान में, आपसे अनुरोध रहेगा कृपया स्टेज पर अपना स्थान ग्रहण करेंगे। साथ ही श्री महेंद्र पाल जी, जो कि उप निदेशक उद्यान एवं निदेशक चाय बोर्ड है, कृपया स्टेज पर अपना स्थान ग्रहण करेंगे। यह अत्यंत हर्ष एवं प्रसन्नता का विषय है कि हमारे बीच भारत सरकार से आदरणीय श्री रितेश चौहान जी, जो कि सीईओ PMFBY प्रधानमंत्री फसल बीमा योजना के सीईओ हैं, वो उपस्थित हैं। साथ ही श्री CD थॉमस देवसिया, जो कि मेंबर नॉन लाइफ IRDAI से उपस्थित हैं। धन्यवाद सर। साथ ही हमारे बीच हैं श्रीमती गिरिजा सुब्रमण्य मैडम, CMD AIC। आपका उत्तराखंड प्रदेश में, देवभूमि उत्तराखंड में बहुत ही हार्दिक अभिनंदन एवं स्वागत। जैसा कि मैंने पहले भी कहा कि जो ये पूरा 2 दिवसीय कार्यक्रम चल रहा है, इसके मध्य में हमारे कृषक भाई एवं बहनें ही हैं, उनकी मेहनत है, वो हमारे अन्नदाता है। तो ये जो फार्मर सेशन है, ये पूरी तरह से 2 दिवसीय जो चर्चा एवं परिचर्चा चल रही है, उसका एक कंक्लूडिंग सेशन भी है। तो हम यहाँ पर पूरी तरह से चर्चा करेंगे कि वो हमारे जो अन्नदाता हैं, जो कृषक हैं, उन तक ये योजना किस तरीके से पहुँच रही है, क्या वो समझ रहे हैं इस योजना से, किस तरह से उनको कठिनाई आती है, कोई समस्या है, कोई चैलेंजेस हैं, क्योंकि आप सभी पॉलिसी मेकर्स भी यहाँ पर हैं, इस समय उपस्थित हैं। साथ ही हम इम्प्लीमेंटेशन जो करते हैं स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से, वो लोग भी यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं और मंच साझा भी कर रहे हैं हमारे कृषक भाइयों एवं बहनों के साथ में। तो सबसे पहले तो मैं चाहूँगी कि हमारे जो कृषक भाई बहनें यहाँ पर बहुत ही इंटीरियर विलेजेस से ये लोग आते हैं, चाहे ये जनपद देहरादून के हैं या टिहरी गढ़वाल के हैं, लेकिन बहुत ही इंटीरियर विलेजेस से आते हैं। मैं चाहूँगी कि एक राउंड हो जाए इनके इंट्रोडक्शन का। मेरा अनुरोध रहेगा समस्त कृषक भाइयों बहनों से, यहाँ से श्रीमती शशिकला चौहान जी से शुरू करेंगे कि आप अपना एक परिचय दें, एक संक्षिप्त परिचय। आपका नाम क्या है, कहाँ से आप आती हैं, कौन सा गांव है आपका?
मैं देहरादून डिस्ट्रिक्ट चक्रोता ब्लॉक त्यूनी तहसील गांव विलेज प्यूनल।
धन्यवाद। आगे
जो प्रधानमंत्री बीमा योजना, फसल बीमा योजना के बारे में कुछ कहना चाहती हूँ। जैसे आजकल जो फसल है, कभी बाढ़ आ रही, कभी सूखा पड़ रहा है, फिर जो ये नुकसान है इसकी जो जैसे बीमा मिल रहा है इंसानों को, जब से ये योजना चली प्रधानमंत्री बीमा फसल योजना, तो लोगों को इससे काफ़ी बेनिफिट हो रहा है। बीमा लगाते हम, जैसे नज़दीक में बैंक हो गया, नज़दीक बैंक में जाते हैं, फिर कागज़ लेके उसके ज़मीन के, फिर उसके वो कराते हैं, फिर उससे हमें बेनिफिट हो रहा है। फिर इसमें आगे भी लोग जुड़ना चाहेंगे जैसे सेब है, गेहूं है, धान है, टमाटर है, गोभी है, फसल हर फसल में कहीं भी कोई भी होती है बाढ़ वगैरह सूखा पड़ रहा तो इसमें सरकार की ओर से हमें मदद मिलती है। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
सबको मेरे नमस्ते। मेरा नाम सीना देवी है, मैं नैनबाग टोटोर से हूँ।
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम प्रभा देवी है। मैं जनपद डेली छत्तीसगढ़ ब्लॉक नैनबाग से हूँ और हमारी जो फसलें हो, रबी हो खरीफ हो, रबी के फसल में हम गेहूँ, चना और मटर लगाए जाते हैं। खरीफ के फसल में हमारी आम होते हैं और अदरक, फ्रांसबीन, मिर्च इत्यादि हम ये सब फसलें बोते हैं, लगाते हैं। अगर इसमें कोई हमारी फसल को कोई नुकसान हो तो हम बीमा कंपनी वालों से बीमा करवा लेते हैं। धन्यवाद।
तिब्बो देवी बोल रही हूँ नैनबाग से। प्रणाम।
जी नमस्कार मेरी सबको। मैं पुष्पा देवी मुनोगी नैनबाग से हूँ और टिहरी गढ़वाल से। जी हम बीमा भी करवाते हैं, फसल भी उगाते हैं, बीमे से हमें लाभ मिलता है। धन्यवाद।
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम संजीव चौहान और मैं देहरादून ज़िले के कालसी ब्लॉक से आता हूँ और मेरे गांव का नाम ग्राम मटियावा है।
सभी को प्रणाम। मेरा नाम सुरेश चौहान है। मैं ग्राम खारसी की चक्राता ब्लॉक और जिला देहरादून का निवासी हूँ।
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मेरा नाम गजेंद्र सिंह है। मैं जिला देहरादून, तहसील चक्राता और ग्राम हाजा का निवासी हूँ। थैंक यू।
मेरा सभी लोगों को नमस्कार। मेरा नाम महाबल सिंह नेगी है। ग्राम समोग, पोस्ट ऑफिस मंडाल, तहसील चक्राता, जिला देहरादून।
जी सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मैं ब्रजेश कुमार जोशी, तहसील चक्राता, डिस्ट्रिक्ट देहरादून का निवासी हूँ। नमस्कार।
प्रणाम। मैं कुंदन सिंह पंवार, जनपद टिहरी गढ़वाल के जौनपुर ब्लॉक में ग्राम पाप का निवासी हूँ और विगत कई वर्षों से लगभग 2 दशक के आसपास खेतीबाड़ी में लिप्त हूँ। थैंक यू।
आप सभी महान महोदयों को मेरा सादर प्रणाम। मेरा नाम देवेंद्र सिंह चौहान, जिला मुख्यालय नई टिहरी के नियरेस्ट मेरा गांव बुडूगी है। मैं बागवानी एवं परंपरागत और संरक्षित खेती में और साथ में बी कीपिंग में काम कर रहा हूँ। धन्यवाद।
सभी को मेरा प्रणाम। मेरा नाम रामचंद्र सिंह रावत, मैं विकासखंड जौनपुर, जिला टिहरी गढ़वाल के ग्राम थुरेटी, नैनबाग से।
सभी को मेरा प्रणाम। मैं शोभन सिंह रावत, ग्राम थुरेटी, तहसील नैनबाग, जिला टिहरी गढ़वाल का निवासी हूँ। धन्यवाद।
केसी पाठक, डायरेक्टर एग्रीकल्चर। थोड़ा सा विषय में बताएंगे। देखिए आज के क्षेत्र में अगर हम किसानों के लिए 3 चीज़ें कर दें, एक हम एश्योर्ड मार्केट, एक रिस्क कवरेज, और ये 2 अगर हम एश्योर्ड मार्केट अगर हम कर दें, रिस्क कवरेज जैसा हमारा है कि फार्म PMFBY से हम कर रहे हैं। अब हम उत्तराखंड के बारे में बताएं तो हमारे जो रिस्क कवरेज था पहले हमारे जो 216-17 में जो हमारे फार्मर रजिस्टर्ड होते थे उससे आज की डेट में हमारे डबल फार्मर रजिस्टर्ड हो रहे हैं। तो किसानों में काफ़ी रुचि भी है, क्योंकि ये हम लोग 2 दिन से, चाहे हम टेंडर साइकिल के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, हम चाहे बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस के, लेकिन हम कैसी भी पॉलिसी बना लें, चाहे हम स्टेट लेवल पे हम स्टेट हो चाहे डिस्ट्रिक्ट हो चाहे हमारा सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट हो, हम अच्छी से अच्छी पॉलिसी बनाते हैं, लेकिन वो क्या इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में किसान उसे कैप्चर कर रहे हैं कि नहीं, इसलिए क्योंकि किसान जो है, किसान क्या कर रहा है, किसान उसको कैप्चर करता है कि नहीं, ये हमें देखना है। क्योंकि आज ये बहुत अच्छा मंच है जो एक ये सेशन रखा गया है इसमें कि फार्मर्स इंटरेक्शन, तो हम ये जानेंगे कि किसानों को क्या इसमें, किसान बताएंगे अपने हिसाब से कि क्या इनमें क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, क्या इनको क्या है, क्या इसमें अच्छाई है, तो जिससे हमें पॉलिसी बनाने में चाहे स्टेट लेवल पे हो चाहे हमें सेंट्रल लेवल पे हो।
नमस्कार सर, रतन कुमार, संयुक्त निदेशक उद्यान एवं खाद्य प्रसंस्करण उत्तराखंड।
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार और बाल सभी लोगों को उत्तराखंड आगमन पर और इस कार्यक्रम के यहाँ उत्तराखंड में कराने के लिए विशेषकर संयुक्त सचिव भारत सरकार, गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया और उनकी टीम और साथ में AIC के जो चेयरमैन मैडम हैं, उनके लिए सबको बहुत बहुत बधाई और उत्तराखंड में ये कार्यक्रम कराने के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद। मेरा नाम महेंद्रपाल है और मैं क्रॉप इंश्योरेंस स्कीम से 2007-8 से हमने एप्रिल का शुरू किया था। उसमें हमने AIC का सहयोग लेकर के, क्योंकि हमारा एक आश्वासन था 1984 और 85 का, उसको पूरा करने के लिए हमने एक प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च किया था पहला एप्रिल पॉलिसी के लिए, और वो हमने स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से किया था। उसमें लगभग 4 करोड़ रुपए हमने क्लेम भी काश्तकारों को दिया। उसके बाद भारत सरकार की जो स्कीम्स आई उसको हमने इम्प्लीमेंट किया और 2016 से लगातार हम मौसम आधारित फसल बीमा योजना का क्रियान्वयन कर रहे हैं। इसमें काश्तकारों को लगभग 90 to 96% तक जो क्लेम जो मिलता है इनको, और बहुत अच्छा यहाँ पर हमारा वेदर बेस्ड का चल रहा है। बाकी हमारे जो फार्मर भाई हैं उनका सबका मैं यहाँ पर स्वागत करता हूँ। अगर हमारी तरफ से कोई योजना संचालन में या कुछ सुझाव हो वो हमें बताएंगे, उसके लिए हम और भारत सरकार और जो हमारी बीमा कंपनियां हैं उनके साथ में पूरा करने का प्रयास करेंगे। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ मेरा सभी लोगों को पुनः नमस्कार।
आप सभी को मेरा सादर अभिनंदन, सादर प्रणाम। मैं इस जिले की मुख्य कृषि अधिकारी अभिलाषा भट्ट आप सभी को इस मंच के माध्यम से धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगी कि आपने जो हमारे किसान भाई बहनों को यहाँ पर एक प्लेटफॉर्म दिया, एक मौका दिया कि वो अपनी बात को आप तक पहुँचा सकें, क्योंकि आप सभी पॉलिसी मेकर यहाँ पर हैं। तो मैं आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद और हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ। फसल की रक्षा, किसान की सुरक्षा। अगर हम किसान की फसलों की रक्षा कर रहे हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं हम डायरेक्टली और इनडायरेक्टली अपने किसान भाई बहनों की रक्षा कर रहे हैं। और हम जानते हैं कृषि मूल्य से जीवनम, हमारे देश की जो आर्थिक व्यवस्था है वो इन्हीं भाई बहनों के कंधों पर है। अगर मैं उत्तराखंड की बात करूं तो यहाँ पर हमारे सभी किसान भाई बहन मार्जिनल फार्मर्स हैं, जिनकी बहुत छोटी सी खेती है। सभी की जो लैंड होल्डिंग है वो 1 हेक्टेयर से कम है। तो जो इनकी इनकम है वो पूरी तरीके से खेती पर निर्भर है, और उस खेती को अगर हम फसल बीमा के माध्यम से सुरक्षा प्रदान कर सकें तो एक बहुत ही अच्छा कदम है किसान की सुरक्षा की ओर। आइए अब देखते हैं फसल बीमा योजना को किसान की जुबानी। अब मैं श्री महावर जी नेगी जी से अनुरोध करूंगी कि आप इस फसल बीमा योजना को कैसे देखते हैं, इस पर थोड़ा सा आप संक्षिप्त में बताइएगा।
ये जो फसल बीमा प्रधानमंत्री जो योजना है, ये हम सब के लिए एक बहुत ही अच्छी एक ऐसी योजना है कि जब भी हम इन जो फसलों पे जो हम काम कर रहे हैं, वो चाहे गेहूं है या मक्का है और दालें हैं और या बागवानी से जुड़ी जो भी हम फसलें बागवानी कर रहे हैं, इस पे जो है आज हम जो काम कर रहे हैं, अगर ये बीमा योजना नहीं होती तो शायद हम जो है अगर 1-2 बार में हमारी कोई भी फसल खराब हो जाती तो उसके बाद हम उसका प्रयास ही नहीं करते कि हम दोबारा इसको लगाएं। और जब से जो है ये फसलों के बीमा और बागवानी का भी हम जो काम कर रहे हैं, इस पे जो है अगर हमारे कोई फल खराब हो जाते हैं, ओलादृष्टि होती है या कोई तूफान आ जाता है, तो हमें जब जो है इस पे बीमा मिलता है तो कहीं ना कहीं हम जो है इस पे दोबारा भी जो है काम करने की हिम्मत कर रहे हैं। नहीं तो अगर ये बीमा हमें नहीं मिलता तो हम एक दो बार में प्रयास जो कर रहे थे, अगर वो फसल हमारी ख़राब हो रही थी तो उसके बाद हम जो है उस पर जो है काम करना उतना उत्साह नहीं होता है। तो मुझे जो एक ये बीमा योजना से जो हमने देखा है, तो ये सभी किसानों के लिए जो है एक मजबूती के साथ जो है आगे बढ़ने का सबसे अच्छा स्रोत है। तो मुझे लगता है कि जिस तरीके से जो है आज मैं अपने पर्वतीय क्षेत्र की अगर बात करूं तो काफ़ी ऐसे किसान थे जिन्होंने जो है पहले जैसे बीमे नहीं करवाए थे, एक दो बार जब फसल खराब हुई तो वो अपने परिवार को लेकर के भी जो है पलायन की ओर चल पड़े। लेकिन जब से जो है ये जो बीमा योजना है, अगर फसल खराब भी हो गई तो डायरेक्ट उसके खाते में वो पैसा आ जाता है। तो कहीं ना कहीं हमारा जो पलायन भी है वो इस बीमा योजना से जो है रुक रहा है और किसान इससे मजबूत हो रहा है। धन्यवाद।
सभी किसान भाइयों को मेरा नमस्कार। मेरा नाम रितेश चौहान है और मैं इस बीमा योजना को भारत सरकार के स्तर पे एज CEO चलाता हूँ। तो आपको आज यहाँ लाने का मकसद वैसे तो आपके स्टेट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ने आपको बताया होगा, लेकिन हमारा मकसद आपसे रूबरू होने का ये है कि आप एक तो खैर आपके जो अच्छे अनुभव रहे हैं योजना के साथ, कोई बताना चाहे तो ज़रूर शेयर करें, लेकिन कोई अगर आपको प्रॉब्लम्स आ रही हैं, किसी तरह के इशू आ रहे हैं तो वो भी हम सुनना चाहेंगे, ताकि मैं भारत सरकार से हम सब मिलके और इस ऑडियंस में जो कंपनियां हैं उनके भी लोग हैं और रेगुलेटर जो हैं वो भी हैं। तो इसलिए आप सिर्फ अच्छा अच्छा बोलना हमारा मकसद नहीं, ना अच्छा अच्छा सुनना। मैं समझता हूँ पहाड़ी लोग, मैं खुद हिमाचल से आता हूँ, पहाड़ी लोग अच्छा ही बोलते हैं, लेकिन जहाँ आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम आ रही है या कोई इश्यूज़ आ रहे हैं या आप कुछ चाहते हैं कि इसको ऐसा बेहतर किया जा सकता है, वो भी ज़रूर खुल के बताएं। एंड मैम सिर्फ फार्मर्स ही बोलेंगे, ऑफिशियल स्टाफ नहीं बोलेगा।
श्री संजीव चौहान जी, आप कुछ अगर बोलना चाहें, सुझाव देना चाहें, जैसा कि सर ने कहा।
जी नमस्कार सर। जैसा कि आपने कहा है कि इस बीमा योजना में ऐसे तो किसानों को इसके लाभ हो रहे हैं, लेकिन जैसा आपने कहा कि इसमें कुछ सुझाव की संभावना है, तो जैसे एक मौन पालन भी बहुत सारे किसान हमारे कर रहे हैं, तो एक तो मौन पालन को इसमें रखा जाए, मेरा अपना सुझाव है। क्योंकि मधुमक्खी पालन एक ऐसा क्योंकि किसान के सारे रिस्क कवर, चाहे वो पशुओं से संबंधित है और चाहे वो बाग बगीचे हों, वो सब कवर हो रहे हैं। सिर्फ एक मौन पालन एक ऐसा व्यवसाय बचा है जो अभी उसमें नहीं आया है। और दूसरा सर, हमारे भौगोलिक परिस्थितियों से हमारा जो क्षेत्र है वो काफ़ी दूर दूर है, और उसमें जब भी हम बीमा कराते हैं तो उसके बाद जो बीमा रिजेक्शन के लिए समय मिलता है वो बहुत कम है, और उसको बढ़ाया जाए, थोड़ा सा उसमें टाइम मिल जाए, क्योंकि CSC सेंटर बहुत कम है और है भी तो काफ़ी दूर हैं। और उस CSC सेंटरों से थोड़ी सी टेक्निकली वहाँ पर हमको दिक्कत आ रही है CSC सेंटर में, जब से क्योंकि बहुत कम है, और पहाड़ी क्षेत्रों में कभी नेट नहीं चलता है, कभी आदमी 40-50 किलोमीटर बाजार आया तो उसका भी कोई ऐसा समाधान निकाला जाए, ताकि किसान जो है अगर इतनी दूर आ भी रहा है, क्योंकि और एक CSC सेंटर है तो वहाँ पर तमाम भीड़ लग जाती है, और वो कहता है कि आज तो नेट नहीं चला, तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा इशू इस समय हम पहाड़ के लोगों को आ रहा है। बाकी तो सर बाकी बहुत अच्छा है, धन्यवाद।
अगर हम उत्तराखंड की बात करें तो यहाँ की इकोनॉमी जो है महिलाओं पे काफ़ी कुछ आधारित है, क्योंकि जो खेती बाड़ी है वो महिलाओं के द्वारा काफ़ी ज़्यादा स्तर में की जाती है। तो हमारे बीच में है टिप्पो देवी जी, वो अपने फसल का बीमा लगातार कई सालों से करती हैं और वो दूसरों को भी प्रेरित करते हैं। उनके गांव में जो अन्य महिलाएं काम करती हैं, खेती करते हैं, उनको भी एक ये प्रेरणा स्रोत हैं, उनको भी जो है मोटिवेट करती हैं बीमा करने के लिए।
मक्का होता है और अदरक होता है, झंगोरा, मंडवा और बीन, टमाटर।
थोड़ा शर्मा रही है।
हमारी फसल का जो हम फसल बोते हैं उसमें हम रबी की फसल में हम गेहूँ, चना और खरीफ फसल में हमारे आम होते हैं, मंडवा होता है, कोदो होता है और फ्राश बीन है, अदरक है, मटर है, टमाटर है, ये हम सब लगा दें। लेकिन बारिश की वजह से जब ये ज़्यादा बारिश होती है तो ये ख़राब भी हो जाती है, इसीलिए हमें थोड़ा बीमा कंपनी से बहुत सुविधा मिल जाती है। हमारी दवाई इसके सब हो जाता है इसमें। धन्यवाद।
मैं चाहूँगा कि अब इसको थोड़ा ओपन छोड़ दीजिए। जो फार्मर्स आप बताना चाहते हैं, इन्होंने बड़े अच्छे सुझाव दिए, तो कोई इस तरह का सुझाव और किसी भी फार्मर के पास है तो खुल के बोलिए, कोई बात नहीं। अभी किसी का नाम मत लीजिए, आराम से बोलिए। बट मेरा रिक्वेस्ट ये रहेगी, बड़ा लंबा ना बोल के, जो आपका सुझाव है उतना बताएं।
सर जो अभी हम जो बीमे करवा रहे हैं उसमें कुछ हमारी जो है ऐसी फसल हैं जिसका बीमा नहीं हो पा रहा है, जैसे शिमला मिर्च है और गोभी है और क्या कहते हैं जैसे अमरूद है, इसका बीमा अभी जो है नहीं हो पा रहा है। तो हम चाह रहे हैं कि किसान तो इस काम को भी कर रहा है, अगर इन चीज़ों के भी बीमे हो जाए तो अच्छा है।
इस बार पहली बार आपने स्टोन फ्रूट को शामिल किया है, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, आपका आभार प्रकट करता हूँ। लेकिन सर बहुत शॉर्ट पीरियड का था वो, हम चाहते हैं कि इन सबके गजट नोटिफिकेशन कम से कम हमको इतना समय मिल जाए कि हम काफ़ी लोग जो जुड़े हुए हैं वो इसमें शामिल हो सके। धन्यवाद।
मेरा इस बीमा से ही संबंधित है जी। जैसे रबी और खरीफ में इसमें दो टाइप के कृषक हैं जी, ऋणी और अऋणी। ऋणी कृषक को तो 1.5 महीने का टाइम मिल जाता है जी, और अऋणी को 1 महीने का। अब जैसे चौहान जी ने कहा कि हमारे यहाँ कुछ कनेक्टिविटी की भी दिक्कतें हैं, तो जो अऋणी कृषक है वो भी वंचित रहते, जबकि ऋणी कृषक लगभग क्योंकि वो बैंक की गारंटी हो जाती है जी, तो बैंक तो उसको सेचुरेट कर देता है। लेकिन अऋणी कृषक जो है वो छूट जाते हैं, तो इसका टाइम पीरियड भी लगभग वही रखा जाए, 1.5 महीने। थैंक यू।
कुछ किसान ना हमारे यहाँ सर दूसरों की खेती में वो करते हैं, अपनी फसल लगाते हैं, तो वो बीमा नहीं कर पाते हैं। हाँ जी, काश्तकार। और हमारे यहाँ कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट तो ऐसा नहीं होता, मतलब वो आपसी उसमें होता है, पर गवर्नमेंट उस पर नहीं होता है जी। अगर उनके लिए भी कुछ हो जाए तो अच्छा होगा। और मेन टाइम ड्यूरेशन का ही हमारे यहाँ, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ एक तो नेटवर्क का इश्यूज़ रहता है और दूसरा क्या नाम है, अब हर साल बीमे के प्रति रुझान बढ़ रहा है, तो संख्या हर साल बढ़ जाती है। CSC सेंटर कम है, वहाँ एक तो नेटवर्क इशू रहता है, तब भी नहीं हो पाता है सर। तो उसमें टाइम ड्यूरेशन का प्लीज़ ध्यान रखना।
क्योंकि ये दूसरी बार आ रहा है नेटवर्क और इसका, तो भारत सरकार ने अभी कोशिश करी है कि आपके एक तो CSC सेंटर से तो एनरोलमेंट हो ही सकती है, एक हमने इंटरमीडियरी, इंश्योरेंस के इंटरमीडियरी जो होते हैं, जो कि आपके घर द्वार आके भी आपकी ऐप के ऊपर एनरोलमेंट कर सकते हैं। एजेंट जो होते हैं, वो एजेंट भी लगाने के लिए अब हमने ऐप लॉन्च कर दी है, इसी सीज़न से लॉन्च हो गई, लेकिन आपके यहाँ एनरोलमेंट पहले हो गया था तो इसलिए नहीं हुआ। अगले सीज़न में वो ऐप आ जाएगी, तो हम कंपनीज़ को हम बोल देंगे कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा एजेंट्स को आपके यहाँ पे भेजें।
प्रणाम सर, मैं एक बी कीपर भी हूँ सर। तो बिना मधुमक्खी के सर इंसान का जीवन दुर्लभ है। हमें जो फसल हम या बागवान में जो लगाते हैं हमको पर परागण की उसमें आवश्यकता पड़ती है। अगर आप मधुमक्खी को आप अपने स्तर से अगर बीमा उसमें रख दें सर, तो आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है
सर।
हमारे वहाँ जैसे भैया औरों ने बोला कि जो जो फसलें हैं जिसमें बीमा नहीं मिल रहा, इसका बीमा भी लागू हो जाए। बाकी जैसे हर चीज़ का तो बोला ही हमने, कोदा हो गया, गेहूँ, धान, मक्की, मंडुआ, हर चीज़ का इसका तो है। जैसे टमाटर है, गोभी है, सेब का तो है। जो इसमें से छूटती है इसका भी बीमा लगे और सबको सुविधा मिले। जैसे CSC सेंटर के बारे में बोला, ये भी दूर पड़ता लोगों को, इसकी सुविधा भी हमें चाहिए। धन्यवाद
सर। इसमें एक अरबी छूट गई थी। हमारे जौनसार में अरबी का काम काफ़ी ज़्यादा होता है।
मैं इसमें आप लोगों को बता दूं कि जो फसल है उसका चयन राज्य की सरकार करती है कि कौन सी फसल उन्होंने नोटिफाई करनी है। लेकिन आज आपने सुझाव दिए हैं, राज्य के अधिकारी यहाँ पे हैं, तो हम भी अपनी तरफ से इनको बोलेंगे कि कोशिश करें ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फसलों का इसमें चयन किया जा सके।
सर, पहाड़ों में सिर्फ 2 ही वजह हैं फसल ख़राब होने की, या तो सूखा पड़ जाए और या फिर ओला आ जाए। तो ओला अभी तक बहुत कम फसलों के लिए था, अभी पहली बार कुछ चीज़ों में आया है। अगर वो सारी फसलों के लिए आ जाए और सब कवर हो जाए, हेल स्ट्रॉम जितनी भी हमारी फसलें हैं जिनको आप इंश्योर कर रहे हैं, अगर ओला उसमें एक फैक्टर सब में आ जाए। थैंक यू
सर। मैं एक धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ कि मैं भी एक किसान हूँ और बागवानी भी करता हूँ। मैं 2019 से बागवानी भी कर रहा हूँ और मतलब इंटर क्रॉप भी कर रहा हूँ। तो मैंने देखा है कि पहले समस्या में क्या थी कि जैसे हमें मतलब कुछ भी नुकसान होता था, चाहे ओला गिरता था, चाहे बारिश आती थी, तो हमें किसानों को काफ़ी समस्या थी। लेकिन अब क्या है, हम लोग किसान मतलब आप लोगों के माध्यम से, जैसे आपके फील्ड अफसर है और एग्रीकल्चर के माध्यम से, जैसे ही हमारा नुकसान होता है तो हम लोग जैसे ही तुरंत मतलब हम लोग उनको जानकारी देते हैं, तो उसके माध्यम से हमें बीमा का अब हमें कोई असुविधा नहीं होती है। तो मैं सबको सबसे पहले यहाँ धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, चाहे इंश्योरेंस कंपनी है या सभी को है, तो मैं इसके लिए बिल्कुल श्योर हूँ जी। नमस्कार
जी सर। इसमें मैं अपनी तरफ से जो लाभ मुझे मिला है बीमा के, उससे मैं एक सक्सेस स्टोरी के बारे में बताना चाहूँगा कि हमारे एक गधेरे के किनारे हमारे काफ़ी सारे लोगों के खेत है। तो ऐसे तो वो काफ़ी दूर हैं गधेरे से, लेकिन नेडा ने हमारे यहाँ एक प्रोजेक्ट लगाया था बिजली के लिए, जब यूपी के टाइम पे, तो वहीं बिजली उत्पादन होता था। लेकिन वो फेल हो गया, तो उसके मोटे मोटे पाइप मतलब गधेरे के आसपास है। तो पिछली बार क्या हुआ कि वो गधेरे का जो पाइप है वो नदी में इस तरीके से लग गया, और हमने जो है जब वो पानी जो है पूरे हमारे खेत भाग के ले गया। तो जब हमारे घर के पिताजी औरों ने कहा कि भाई जाओ तहसील में जाओ, इसकी प्रक्रिया पूछो, तो हम जब सरकार के पास गए, हमने कहा जी इतना नुकसान हो गया। तो वहाँ के जो तहसीलदार है उन्होंने पटवारी जी को भेजा, तो उन्होंने नापा, उन्होंने कहा भाई ये भूमि तो बहुत कम है, आप मतलब इसकी हम कैलकुलेशन करके गवर्नमेंट को भेज देंगे। तो सर जब गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से मुझे एक मेरे पिताजी के नाम से एक चेक आया, तो मुझे खुद हंसी आ रही थी कि मतलब 5,000 का चेक मात्र आया। और वहीं हमने जब इंश्योरेंस कंपनी के जो हमारे स्थानीय युवक अजय चौहान से संपर्क किया, उन्होंने कहा यार इसका तो रिस्क कवर मिलता है इसके बारे में, और हमने पहले ही बीमा करवा रखा था। तो हमने कहा सर आप ही करिए, अगर कुछ मिलता है तो आप करिए इसमें। तो सर उन्होंने जब प्रक्रिया को स्टार्ट किया, क्योंकि हमने वहाँ अदरक और धान लगाया था, तो 6,000 कुछ का तो बीज ही था, जो अदरक का बीज हमने बोया था, तो वहाँ से 5,000 मिले हमें, तो बीज का भी लॉस हो रहा था। तो जब वो वहाँ पे हमने सर उनसे बात करी, जो एग्रीकल्चर वाले इंश्योरेंस वाले थे, तो उन्होंने जब हमने मात्र 7,000 कुछ का बीमा लगाया था अदरक और धान पे, और उसमें हमको 45,000 के आसपास हमको बीमा मिला, जिससे सर हम सरवाइव कर पाए। और पिताजी औरों ने भी कहा कि भाई, जबकि मैं खुद घर में ये बात कहता था कि भाई बीमे का एक रूल है कि मतलब जो कंपनी वाले या इंश्योरेंस वाले, वो कहते भगवान करे किसी को बीमे की ज़रूरत ना पड़े, क्योंकि बीमा तब मिलता है जब आपका कोई चीज़ खराब हो जाती है या कोई, हमें तो वो लाभ है कि वो जीवित रहे और वो अच्छी फसल होगी। लेकिन सर ये भी एक बहुत अच्छी, मैंने जब कल मैम और ने कहा कि, मैंने कहा मेरे साथ इस तरह की घटित हुई, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये स्टोरी आप बताना, तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इसके लिए मैं बीमा कंपनी को देना चाहूँ।
सर मैंने जो है जब ये बागवानी का काम शुरू किया, तो उसी बगीचे में मैंने जो है टमाटर का काम पहले शुरू किया। तो उसमें क्या है कि 19 में जब मैंने टमाटर का काम किया, तो उस समय जो है हमने बीमा नहीं करवाया था, और करीबन रेट उस समय थोड़ा मिल गया था, और 575 क्रेड टमाटर निकाली थी। लेकिन 20 में जो है ये अजय चौहान जी ने कहा कि आप बीमा करवा दो, तो उस समय पूरा टमाटर हमारा ख़राब हो गया था, और उस समय जो है जो हमने बीमा करवाया था उसी से जो है आज मेरा बगीचा बना है। इसके लिए मैं आपको धन्यवाद दूंगा, आपके कंपनी के लिए।
सभी किसान भाई बहनों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
जी पहले तो भारत सरकार और वहाँ से आए सभी लोगों का मैं हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ। इस संवाद कार्यक्रम के लिए एक नई परंपरा है, नई शुरुआत है, हम सबके लिए नया सवेरा है। इस नए सवेरे में मैं कुछ चीज़ें पुरानी जो 2007 में हमारे यहाँ वेदर बेस्ड शुरू हुआ था, और हमको जो टीम मिली थी, प्रसाद जी बैठे हैं, प्रियदर्शी जी बैठे हैं, मैम बैठी हैं, सबसे आप ये मान लीजिए कि बिल्कुल घर जैसे संबंध होगा। कभी हमको इस तरह की कोई परेशानी अभी तक नहीं आई है, भविष्य में जो आएगा देखा जाएगा। और मैं इस जनपद का रहने वाला हूँ, आप सबका हृदय से आभार करता हूँ। आप यहाँ गंगा और जमुना के बीच के मायके में हैं, और एक थोड़ी सी अलग जो हमारी संस्कृति है, मैं जहाँ से आता हूँ, मैं जौनपुर का हूँ, जनपद टिहरी गढ़वाल का पार्ट है। वी हैव अ ब्लेंड ऑफ जौनसारी एंड जौनपुरी एंड गढ़वाल ऑल्सो। सो ये थोड़ा सा अलग था। हृदय से आप सभी का इसलिए भी कि आपने हमको एक मंच दिया अपनी बात कहने के लिए, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।
अंततः मैं ये यहाँ उपस्थित सभी कृषकों का हम लोग सम्मान करना चाहेंगे, तो मैं श्री रितेश चौहान सर से अनुरोध करता हूँ कि वो मंच पर आकर के कृषकों को सम्मानित करें। और मैं सीएमडी मैडम श्रीमती गिरिजा सुब्रमण्यम मैडम को भी अनुरोध करता हूँ, और IADS से देवेश सर आए हुए हैं, उनको भी मैं आग्रह करता हूँ कि आकर वो कृषकों को सम्मानित करें। प्लीज़ मैडम सर। मैं अनुरोध करूंगा कि कृषकों के सम्मान के लिए तालियां अवश्य बजाते रहिए।
ये अभिभूत करने वाला अनुभव है हमारे लिए कि हमारे अन्नदाता यहाँ पर आए और उन्होंने अपने सजेशंस, सुझाव पूरे खुले रूप से यहाँ पे दिए। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सभी का। Sir will answer the video. When I call sir for the photo thing? Photo thing. Right. Okay, fine. Okay. यहाँ पे हमारे अन्नदाता उपस्थित हैं, सभी लोग उपस्थित हैं। मैं अनुरोध करूँगा श्री रितेश चौहान से कि CEO PMFBY कि प्लीज़ आप आएँ और give us your concluding remarks for 10th NRC.
आप सभी को नमस्कार, वेरी गुड आफ्टरनून टू एवरीवन। आज इस 10th NRC के कंक्लूजन पे इट्स अ गुड मोमेंट टू रिफ्लेक्ट ऑन व्हाट वी डिड, और जो हम पिछले ऑलमोस्ट 1 साल से करते आ रहे हैं। आई विल बिगिन माय एड्रेस बाय थैंकिंग देवसिया जी for his blessings and guidance to the crop insurance ecosystem, where he gave us the perspective of the regulator and the expectation for all the stakeholders to take this scheme and sector forward. I would also thank Dipender Kumar ji for his keynote address, as well as support extended by the government of Uttarakhand in the successful organization of this conference. My appreciation and regards also go out to all the participants and stakeholders within the scheme, especially all the state, union territories, senior officers who've gathered here from state governments, insurance companies, reinsurance companies, international organizations, and even the technical organizations who are supporting in implementation of the scheme. Now, as you all know, the purpose of this conference was very specific. We had gathered earlier to, before the tender cycle began, to actually do a sort of pre-bid meeting with all the stakeholders. And immediately after the tender concluded, the thought was that to get all the people related to this tender process together, so that they could actually come up and give suggestions on how the process could be improved in the future. I am really happy to note that during the last 2 days, we have gotten a wealth of inputs from the concerned peoples. I am also really, really glad to note that people did not hold back in their inputs, in their critique, and most importantly gave suggestions that I am quite sanguine will be very, very helpful going forward in the scheme design and infrastructure. Another very critical moment for the scheme was with regard to the rollout of technology initiatives. Now, as we all know, the YesTech manual is already out. WINS manual is about to be rolled out. We have rolled out 2 huge initiatives recently in DigiClaim and Aid app. So it was also sort of a stock taking moment for us of these initiatives that have already been rolled out and with regard to the initiatives that we want to take forward. I am happy to note that there were very fruitful discussions, especially with tips and myths organizations, so that especially the Yes Tech could be taken forward. Plus, there was ample good discussion both in the House and during the luncheon with regard to the WIPS and WINDS ecosystem that we want to develop. I am particularly thankful for the thought-provoking contributions by ACS UP when he spoke about increasing accountability of banking and financial institutions. ACS Assam, who has been a leading light in the crop insurance ecosystem, he also emphasized on the role of bankers in supporting enrollment throughout the country. I also thank Agriculture Commissioner AP for raising the issues with regard to incentivizing states with regard to universalization. I have requested him personally to come up with specific standards on how we should look at universalization. So maybe we can have a graded framework of what universalization means, first and foremost, and then within the framework build in structures through monitoring and evaluation for states and all stakeholders on how to take universalization forward. So I thank for that input, and I'm looking forward on his inputs on the new universalization definition, as well as how do we go forward in the scheme. I thank Rajasthan Commissioner for raising the issue of enrolling tenant farmers and integrating of land records. I think a few other inputs from the northeastern states on land record integration were also quite beneficial. I personally thank CMD AICL for her very clear and direct inputs that she gave with regard to the tender process itself. So thank you, ma'am. I personally requested you to be very direct and blunt with all of us, and that was the purpose of this, of us coming together. I'm also very, very happy that today we have in the audience a young Deputy Commissioner with us who's heading a district who was today facilitated. And I look forward to taking that the scheme goes up in the priority list of the district magistrates. So I would definitely expect her to take this message back to the states and to her batchmates maybe, and maybe tweet about it or whatever, but get the DCs going, because I am a firm believer in the PM, CM, DM leading the scheme, and then the scheme is taken care of. So that was something new that happened, and we wish to take it forward in a graduated manner through a dashboard specially developed for the Deputy Commissioners. Now, it was also heartening to note that the discussion for the first time was also beyond the crop insurance ecosystem. So we would want that the scheme or the ecosystem should pivot from being a very crop specific thing to an agriculture insurance ecosystem. And I was glad to note that we have insurtech companies which are working on models which could be then taken forward. One really hopes that the insurance sandbox that we want to do gains traction in times to come. Now, I would, from the perspective of Government of India, urge the state governments especially to work on the state PMU establishment. We have now enabled it enough, and we would like the states to take that up so that input of high level comes into execution. At last, my thanks are due to all the organization, the team that made it possible. Ma'am, again, my personal thanks, and I would like to share this with the audience, that I was a bit apprehensive with AIC taking up this, this function, as for whatever reason. But I think the level of professionalism and the level of execution seen in this conference, I think, goes beyond whatever I have witnessed in any other conference. And I think it is because of Girija ma'am's personal endeavor that she probably oversaw even the minutest of details, right from the blue shirts that her team was wearing to the name tags that have been placed before us. The level of professionalism was exemplary. We had great fun in the cultural programs, and the food was delectable. I think all in all, one of the best conferences that I have ever attended personally. At last, I would like to end with a couplet which my additional commissioner wrote for me just now. सफ़र और भी हैं, मंजिलें और भी हैं, फसल बीमा की राह में अभी मुकाम और भी हैं, जहाँ भी मिलेंगे आप मुझे ये बोलता पाएंगे, मैं हमेशा कृषि रक्षक। धन्यवाद। With that, I think Vikas has made a small video for us.
Good afternoon. CEO PMFBY Shri Ritesh Chauhan ji, is CS Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Assam, Shri Ashish Bhutani ji. IRDA member, non-life, Shri Thomas Devashya ji, state government officials, my colleagues from the industry, and other distinguished guests. I have been given the difficult task of concluding the conference with a vote of thanks. As the saying goes, all the good things come to an end, and here we are at the culmination of the 10th edition of National Review Conference on PMFBY. In the series of consultations among various stakeholders for better and effective implementation of PMFBY, the 10th NRC was held from 26th to 27th August 2023. It gave an opportunity to all the stakeholders to exchange their experience in implementation of PMFBY and know about the best practices being followed by the insurance companies, which would certainly improvise the implementation of PMFBY. I want to extend my warm regards and heartiest congratulations to the CEO, PMFBY. Sir, you certainly have provided the impetus to the meeting. Further, the House benefited from the advice and directions of Dr. Ashish Bhutani, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Assam, who enlightened us despite his busy schedule. I also want to thank all the respected delegates for taking their valuable time out and ensuring their presence here. We feel enlightened and believe that we have learned many things from this conference. Words would fall short of describing how much learning we have derived from the interactions we had in the conference and the important networks that we created. सबसे पहले मैं हमारे अन्नदाता किसान भाइयों और बहनों को धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा, जिन्होंने अपना अनुभव और अपना सुझाव हमारे साथ साझा किए, जो कि हमें सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स को अपने काम में इम्प्रूवमेंट सुधार लाने के लिए बहुत सहायक होंगे. We are thankful to everyone who has been a part of this event, and our special gratitude to the officials of the Government of India, state governments, union territories, IRDAI, MNCFC, Indian and global reinsurers, representatives of the insurance companies, UNDP, Technical Support Unit, CSC, other Indian and international institutions, experts and all officials who actively participated in the deliberations, exchanged their experience and challenges faced in the implementation of PMFBY. Thank you all for making it to the conference despite their busy schedule and furthermore the challenging weather conditions here. This certainly indicates their commitment to this important flagship scheme. The networking, informative deliberations, and the panel discussions held in the past 2 days are certainly the highlight of this conference. The takeaway will certainly improve our services for the ultimate financial security of our Annadata. A distinct appreciation is due to Tehri Garhwal District Administration for their cooperation, extending the protocols, and making the journey to the venue safe and smooth. We also cannot overlook the thread bearer, our MC, Mr. Gaurav, and Team Essence, the event management company. Also, let us all acknowledge the heart-winning performance of dancers, singers, all other artists and performers who gave their best and performed dedicatedly for this conference. Then comes the Western Resort, the beautifully located property with courteous staff and sumptuous food. We are thankful to them for providing us a memorable experience and making our stay comfortable here. We grab the opportunity to extend a heartwarming gratitude to the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India, for their continued support. We at AIC are thankful to Ministry of Agriculture for giving us the opportunity to organize this event. And with my concluding words, I am thankful to my AIC team of volunteers who have put efforts day in and day out to make this event successful. We hope that you have enjoyed the conference as much as we enjoyed organizing it. See you in the next NRC. Thank you.